Suddenly feel all intense.
Can we sing along?
Just turn the rabbit cuts down if you want to hear us.
Oh my god.
I can pretend like I'm playing them.
Dog, you're repeating after me when I car you.
Oh, it's cool with the timer. I can see how far ahead I am from the YouTube, and it's 20 seconds.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, the YouTube is like 20 seconds on the dot behind my clock.
You're gonna have
Music is really loud.
yeah. Well, turn down the rabbit cast.
Oh my gosh. So much complaining.
They're gonna better. Whoa. I'll bill you for my hearing aid.
Wine, wine, wine.
There's no one on this boat yet.
Where should I? Oh, I could do man bun while we're doing this. Oh, I should totally do my hair like a unit, like just put like a thing like this, and just like have a unicorn horn for my hair.
Oh my god.
I should probably do something on YouTube so I tell people that I'm streaming.
I'm streaming.
Because none of the people that follow me on YouTube actually follow me on Twitter.
Yeah.
Make them.
Oh, the timer is going off. That means it's time to start.
Oh my god!
How do I stop the timer? Oh my god. So yeah, I know. I'm really excited. So hi everybody. Welcome to another episode of MEGAtalks. This time with like face cam, and we've got everybody here in this cool thing called a rabbit and models in chat, and that's all very exciting. So hi everybody. We're trying something new because people said they wanted us to do like face cams and stupid things like that. So you get to stare at my ugly ass face for a couple hours, which I don't know why anybody would want to do that, but you asked, so what the fuck, we'll do it. So
look, you're beautiful. Don't let anybody tell you different.
So in this, I don't know what we'd call this, a live stream, a podcast, a chat show, whatever, this thing that we're doing, we're going to be talking about Beta Weekend Event 2. We're going to be talking about Elite Specializations, and we're going to be talking about raids. So we'll see how we can fit that all in. And I guess we'll get started. So first thing, I want to talk about the Beta Weekend event that just happened, because there's two reasons. One is because it'll get me views and I'm shameless and I want like all that great advertising revenue. Gimme. But the second reason, and this one's actually a little bit more important, I did not get to participate in Beta Weekend 2. I was really kind of torn up about this. I had Dragon Con, so I went and I was getting hammered in a hotel in downtown Atlanta and being a complete nerd for the weekend, which was great. But I missed the entire thing, so I didn't get to do really anything the entire beta weekend because Dragon Con ran Friday through Monday. So bad luck on my part, but here to help me learn a little bit more about what happened in Beta Weekend 2, and we'll discuss it, is kind of the icon picture thingy to the right is Vol. Everybody say, oh, I guess Vol, say hi so people can recognize your voice.
Hello.
I think that's a phoenix, if you want to talk
it's a
about
phoenix?
it.
It's a Vol Phoenix. Below me is Mr. Karam. Say hi, Karam.
Hi, Karam.
Hi, Karam. And
He's actually on this, he's not below you on my screen, he's like to the right.
Right of Vol.
oh, okay. Well, so anyway, like for me, it's here, and then we've got over here.
Yeah, for me, Loki's up there. So.
Yeah, see. And then over here is Razzie, that curly-haired
Oh.
cherub.
That's it here, that's not allowed. She's the other one who, her and Model, they almost would call me a curly-haired cherub. Thank you very much. It's totally weird when you say it.
Babs is over there, so I can have her come and call you a curly-haired
Okay, well,
cherub.
hello.
Also hang out here is Kyle, who said he wasn't going to participate but keeps yapping. So Kyle might have something to say too.
I
didn't pin you, but just in case.
The more the merrier.
Well, we've only done this with 4 so far because I feel like more than that makes it a little tough, but we can see. So first thing I want to talk about is beta weekend number 2. I'm actually going to pull up that shaman's amazing specialization calc in case if we want to talk about builds, so we can put some in here. But first things first, now I had talked to you guys a little bit before, and Raz, we were all waiting for you, so we were sitting here yapping. In this version,
Raz.
Yeah, Raz.
Oh, hey, you said 8 o'clock. It's not 8. I don't know if it's like.
No, I said we want to finish by 8.
Oh. Well, you shouldn't tell me a time, and then okay, I get home from class, I'm like, physics, calculus, and then you're like, oh, finish at 8. But in my brain it says we're gonna start at 8.
Well, so in this version of the beta weekend, we got a little slice of verdant brink. Colin said about 25%. Now, when they announced it, I thought that was going to be the same 25% we saw last time. Turns out it was a totally new 25%. But I didn't get to play it. Karam didn't get to play it. Karam didn't choose to play it. Vol didn't play it. Raz, you're the only person who played the new portion of the map here. So tell us about it. How was it?
Oh, okay. So it's my turn now, eh?
Yeah, no.
Stick and cast on.
Go. It's all you.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was actually a lot more interesting. Actually, to be honest, it was a lot more interesting than the first area that we played in, even though they had like the iconic like giant ship there sitting on fire and stuff. You started in this area with like there's an anvil there and a random scout NPC that actually didn't tell you anything about the area. He just kind of said hello and commander. He kept yelling at me.
Commander, on me.
Pretty much. And then there was like a portal in the back that you couldn't go through because there was an invisible wall. But it was actually really fun. I got to experience some new enemies that I had never experienced before. I got to see Lord Farian and his blazing red Speedo going crazy in the jungle. And actually enjoyed some of the events that went on. The only thing, and actually I experienced something quite interesting while I was playing it. Something I never experienced before in actually Guild Wars 2
Other than Farron's genitalia?
That was in South Zone.
Do we have to go there right now? Do we have to go there right now? Do we have to go to that?
I think we're going to be going there a fair bit, yeah.
Fine. Yes, I had my face all up in that business.
What do you call it when you motorboat man balls? Like, is there like an equivalent? Because I know, like motorboating is a thing, but what is
I'm
it?
not really sure. I'm not really sure.
That might just be teabagging.
Basically.
No, because that's like reverse teabagging.
Well,
it's Gabbeat.
Get beat.
Gabbeat. Anyway, so no, it was actually really cool. The particular enemies I found really fun were the frog people. We actually got to fight some of the cocktool or whatever, something like that. Something with cock in it.
is that what you remember?
Well, that's how you pronounced it. At least there was a C, there was an O to the C, that had lots of Z-tol. So, that's how we pronounced it. And they had some really cool mechanics, like actual dodging mechanics, like these little, the little ones, they actually stealthed when you attacked them, and they would teleport as you attacked them, so they would react to certain attacks. The big ones were just kind of big and meaty like we thought they would, but it's funny, there was an event down in this area where Lord Farron was, and you start this event, and this giant, at the end of it, this giant frog dude comes out, or toad, I guess, and he has like a lot of varied attacks, which is really cool, and he does this one attack and just like downed everyone except me, of course. And that was really cool. There wasn't really much to say about except that. There's a lot of interesting little Easter eggs, probably left by the devs because they're still working on the map. Like there was a little area below where I saw this blue Asura model under the map. Not that I broke out of the map, I was in a legitimate part of the map where I had to get a mastery point. And there was this blue Asura just sitting in mid-air. There was also a Mordramoth minion down there as well that wasn't moving. So, still work in progress when it's ready.
Okay. The design, though, looked amazing.
Oh,
so that's the one thing I noticed.
Like,
I watched some
it
videos. It looks great.
It's the most beautiful map I've ever seen. Like, when I think beautiful, I think like brightness and things, but there's a lot of varied like environments in the area. Like you would move in through it, you see all these roots and thorns and stuff, and then you'd go to this little camp where the pact or whatever the pact are, or where the Farron is, and then you kind of move and transition to this other area, looked completely different, and it was Mordremoth territory with all these new Mordrem minions, which by the way are really difficult to fight. They are. I was playing on the Reaper, I think, and usually like the Reaper is pretty OP right now, or at least super strong, and I just couldn't. They were eating through my life shroud like no one's business because just they hit so hard.
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. Like, as part of Heart of Thorns, they've redesigned the way that the AI system works. And if people haven't seen it, there's a really good talk that I want to say that it's Mike Davis from ArenaNet, but apologies if I got your name wrong. It's like a lot of first names, so it's like Mike Davis from ArenaNet and Dave Mark, who's an AI consultant. They built this whole new AI subsystem that lets them design creatures and control how they react. And there's really, if you're into like engineering or programming or just any sort of game design, it's really interesting to go because you can see some of the ways that they've built the system to allow characters to have preferences about how they act. So like some characters will attempt to, you know, kite or move out of the way or stay close to other enemies of the same type or move further away. And then they can control like when they would use these different behaviors. So there's a really good like hour-long talk that goes through all that. What I'm wondering is whether that AI behavior shows in the characters, the enemies, they feel like they're more interesting to fight against, or like they're using behaviors that are good, or whether it's just, hey, we made them harder to kill and they hit a lot harder. Because my experience so far have mostly been, and I only played in beta weekend 1, but it just really felt like everything just hit you really hard. It didn't feel smarter. It just was like more one-shots.
Some of the Mordrem are like that, I believe, by design. Like, there's a Cavalier one, so like the Mordrem on top of the dinosaur.
Mm-hmm.
Those are
He
awesome.
just hits hard. Like, that's all he does. But then there's another Mordrem that does his, like, dodging attacks, kind of like a Death Blossom kind of deal. And they use it at very interesting times, like when you suddenly start, like, for instance, when I was on Revenant, I would use the 3 on the sword, and I'd do the combo. Then suddenly they just like Death Blossom and invade all that shit. I'm like, what the hell? I can't hit you. And actually, that's what happened with the frogs, the tree frog guys. When I would actually target them and activate an attack instantly, like it wouldn't happen all the time because if it did, then it'd be really frustrating. But it happened at different intervals of time when I was attacking them, so I'd activate some skill and then they would suddenly disappear and teleport somewhere. And they wouldn't just do that when I was attacking, they also decide that if I was too close to them, they would also teleport away. So, and use other various skills, like they actually had a crippling shot, I think, and other things. Whereas the bigger toad guys wouldn't care, they would just start going up front and hitting hard because they're the big guys, they're the up front people. So I think they're choosing which ones based on what type of character, like enemy they are. So like if it's a quick enemy or something like that, they choose to use different attacks than those who are big guys who use lots of big heavy attacks and stuff like that.
Well, that's good. Hopefully if they tweak some of that AI, it'll be a little bit more fun to fight ththings.
I also think that they're only showing a little bit of this. Like, remember, I mean, they've been really really headstrong about not showing us too much. So this might just be a little bit of it, like just a little bit the tip of the iceberg kind of deal with how the AI works in the game, just these enemies, because these aren't just the only enemies we're going to be fighting in the game.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So I guess the next thing I wanted to talk about was the events. So I think in the first beta weekend there was some criticism that the day-night cycle didn't really feel great, that the events maybe weren't all that interesting. Did they feel a little bit better here?
That's kind of funny thing because I didn't really I only played long enough to play through a whole night cycle.
Okay.
And I played a little bit of a day cycle, and in fact, I was the problem with me was I was getting lost so much. I wasn't finding any events in time, so I wasn't able to experience them. And this actually goes into the thing I was about to say, whereas it's really hard to get around the maps if you don't have certain masteries. Like, I was really struggling because I did not have the bouncy mushroom mastery. I only had gliding. and it was really difficult to get to an event that was happening somewhere a little bit farther away because I'd have to take the long route to get
you
there.
can go down easily, but not up.
I can go down, but I can't go up very easily. And there was certain mastery points that I couldn't get without having the bouncing mushroom, where I have a really hard time getting to them because gliding, while I can glide down, I'd have to like aim for this tiny little penny-sized spot on a branch to go land next to this mastery point. Which actually felt really frustrating and really awesome at the same time because it's like, wow, I'm really frustrated that I can't do this, but wow, I actually have to go do something to go get this next thing. I felt like I was this progression that they're talking about in this iteration of the beta weekend. I didn't feel it in the last one because the area was kind of a little bit more linear than this part is. This one was like all over the place. Like there was several levels of detail in this map.
Okay, so you mentioned levels of detail. One of the main features that they've been talking about with the jungle system is this idea of biomes, of having a jungle with different layers to it and having different events in the different layers. In Beta Weekend 1, the piece of verdant brink we got wasn't layered at all. You only got like really the one layer. Does this feel more layered, or is it still kind of just that like you have one plane that you're working on and you might switch between them, but they're not layered on top of each other?
I'm not really, in the last one, I kind of noticed where they were talking about the different levels. Actually, if I could reference it, if you know the actual first part, you go down that hill where the camp is, and then you find those stairs that go like far down into the jungle. That's supposed to be the jungle floor, I believe, or like part of it, or at least like a small. I don't know. It kind of feels like the jungle. Yes, Rabbit, I'm still here.
It's the same thing for me.
Damn it, Rabbit! But no, this one actually felt a lot more layered than the first map. The one thing that I noticed was the biome part was actually very like spot on because, like I said, I was walking through. You get this jungly part, and suddenly you see all these giant hollow tree trunks that you walk through, and suddenly you're in a different area that looks a bit more arid, a bit more rocky than the last part that isn't as jungly. And then you go into this next part, and it's like, this is all like Mordrum. There's lots of Mordrum in here that looks very Mordrumoth inside here with different vines that look magical and all sorts of stuff. It's actually very separate because you actually have to go over this branch that just crosses over to the next area. As far as the layers go, like they felt a lot better, mainly because there's a lot of like cliffs that you have to go up. And that have plateaus on them and everything that you actually have to do events on that you can actually traverse. There's camps up there, especially with there wasn't any like villages of frogs. Oh, actually no, there was a village of frogs, 2 of them in fact, and they were different looking. Like they weren't just copy pasted villages. Like one village is in like these these cut off tree trunks, and they were like little like houses on them, and then there was ones that were like tree houses. So it was a lot more varied this time round than the last time, as far as, I mean, from my point of view.
So I think that's one thing that a lot of people have been worried about, because we're only getting one region in the world, right? We're getting 4 maps within the Maguma jungle. And I think I've seen some concern from people saying like, oh, well, we're only going to be in the jungle. This expansion, it's not really going to be interesting because it's just jungle, so we're not going to have much. But I think ArenaNet has shown in this game, and especially in Guild Wars 1, I think they might have even done a better job of this in Guild Wars 1, that they can take something like Desert. I'll get both my hands in here for they can take something like Desert, which Nightfall is the example of this that I was thinking of. And yeah, hey, it's just desert, but they're showing all these different flavors of desert and all these different sort of ecosystems within it, and they've done a really good job of making that interesting, and I think they're still going to be able to do that here. Like, I have confidence that these maps, even though they're all jungle, are going to be varied enough to be interesting.
Well, you have the examples of that even in the maps they already have in Guild Wars 2.
Sure.
So like, just the first one that pops into mind is, and the name just popped out of my mind. Mount Maelstrom.
Oh yeah, Mount Maelstrom.
Yeah, Maelstrom. So it's jungle, right? But then you have kind of one half that's oceany, and the other half that's this giant, volcano. So I think that's
Yeah, they can. They certainly have the ability to create different looking at like make it interesting, and not just copy paste assets or textures even. Like they're very good about picking an area is like, oh, we want this to be, jungly, kind of lots of leaves and flowers and plants and foliage and stuff like that. And the
It's kind of
enemy,
like Lorners too.
yeah, Lornas
Yeah.
is another good example.
Yeah. Timberline Falls is the one that I really like, where you get that
That's what I was thinking
kind
as
of
well.
alpine style, but you also get the transition between it. So you go from the mountains into kind of the snow receding, and then you've got that kind of general alpine
There's
look.
pirates at the end.
And there's pirates. There's Suwash.
Actually, you know what I told Carol, my friend Carol, while I was PvPing, I said, it would be awesome if after Mordramoth and everything that, this whole, remember there was that picture of the Lion's Arch being attacked by sea dragons or whatever. I said, it would be cool if we just went out to the sea and it's like a pirate expansion. Everyone's just pirates. I would love a pirate expansion.
Return of my train, please. I'd like it.
Arr.
Arr. Yeah, no, Suwash is the best pirate. Suwash the Quaggan. One of my favorite things. Actually,
that's
my probably two of my favorite things in all of the open world PvE are Suwash, who's a pirate, and what's his name? Captain Penzan, who's a pirate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Pinza, oh my gosh,
That event chain is amazing, and I don't know who designed that at ArenaNet, but it ends with a song. Like, there's a song number that he does.
Is
It's
that
a
the one in Bloodtide?
yeah.
Oh, I like that one. Yeah.
Speaking of events, actually, there was something interesting. The event when I found Lord Farron, and this is the camp of like these nobles that had, when they crashed their ship, because apparently they wanted to go. The story was they wanted to go see the attack on Mordramoth. They're like, oh, let's watch it. Eat the popcorn.
But that's historically accurate.
Oh well, yeah, exactly.
Like,
I mean,
they didn't make
wanna
that
go-
shit up.
No.
Like that happens.
And Lord Farron, they're all sitting there, and Lord Farron talks about being trained. Like he wants to finish his training. Like apparently he was being trained by this guy named Bongo, I think.
That's actually part of the personal story. So if you do the Farron arc of the human personal story,
Oh yeah.
when he helps
That's
you
it,
out, he mentions that he's been training in his sword stuff, which actually is a good question. So it seems like they're starting to do a good job of taking characters from the base game and from the personal story and working them in. I've heard mention of a couple other ones as well. Did you
There
notice...
was someone else that I can't remember. I only saw Farron in my time in there because that's all I was really interested in because he's one of my favorite characters. I still have the mini. But during the event, you have to fight off various like vigil soldiers as like part of training, and then like at the end, he's like, "This is the most dastardly, dangerous trainer you ever have." And it's just you just start fighting a bunch of like piglets and chickens, who have like 1,000,000 health and like have huge attack damage. It's so funny. I was like, "Oh my god, this is so cool! I'm so happy." I'm so sad and happy at the same time. Oh, this piglet's dying, but he must die.
Kyle is contributing important things to the chat on the side.
I'm enjoying my love for Casimir, and I got Electro Pink earlier.
Yeah?
So when the price rises after today,
Oh my God,
how
Kyle.
long I'm gonna buy some Casimir.
If you want Electro dyes, which are usually really super expensive, buy them now. Electro dyes. They like the blue dye. Oh, hang on, we can pull it up here.
It's like 100 gold, I think.
It was 170 gold, and it was 1,000 gold like 2 or 3 days
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, it's definitely just tanked.
I can put my light on. It's getting
The
dark.
pink is like 87 last time I saw it.
Better.
Electro blue is down to like 175. Check this
That's not
out.
bad.
It was like 1,000 gold.
That's what I'm saying. Drop like
Damn
a
it,
rock.
birthdays.
That's not just the birthdays. So timey, because like if you look, this happened today.
Oh, it happened today? What happened?
Yeah, they put out the tiny die kit, which is
Oh, yeah.
electric dies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
'cause you couldn't sell the
125 gems
birthday
for
ones.
one.
Everyone's selling them dyes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now's a really good time to buy your Electro dyes. They're pretty cheap. You can see here that like a lot of people are putting in buy orders, and it doesn't look like they're getting filled. So I would probably just buy one directly if you
Yeah,
have the
that's
gold
probably
for
the
it.
best bet.
Especially because right now, like on this one, the spread is basically nothing. Although once it gets to the 189, it'll be a little bit more. But yeah, that's a pretty
worth.
good deal for that die.
1,000 gold dye for
Almost
192.
200.
Not bad.
That's a good deal right now.
Yeah.
All right, so we talked about the map, we talked about the events, we talked about the enemies. Anything I'm leaving out? Actually, masteries. I want to talk about masteries for a moment.
Oh, masteries is my favorite part.
All right.
I love masteries.
Go, just tell
us.
us.
I love it. I love it. It's so like, okay, I'm gonna compare it to leveling up like your first character because they want it to be part of that progression.
Sure.
I can do it too. When you're leveling up a character, it can be really exciting or it can be really boring, and I unfortunately had my first time was really boring. After that, I found ways to make it fun.
What did you
and
level
exciting.
first?
What did I level first?
Yeah.
What was my first character? I think it was a Mesmer.
Okay, mine was Mesmer, and that shit was terrible.
So was mine.
It was awful. It was awful.
It was so bad.
We can't get anywhere. We're the slowest pieces of shit in the world. It was like everyone has perma swiftness or a signet that makes them go faster. What do Mesmers get? A field that gives you swiftness for like 9 seconds and doesn't even stack. I was like, okay, fine. I know how you feel about Mesmers, ain't it? Even though you said it was this cool special class that you wanted to come out with last. Anyway, no, it was being, like I said before, where it was like, when I was going through the map, and I said, man, it was really difficult to get places without a certain mastery, and it felt that way. Like, I missed participating in events because I couldn't get there on time, because I'd be on one side of the map, and then this event's happening on the other side, and they don't happen, well, they do happen quite frequently, but they happened in like a specific, like, I don't know if there was a very specific time interval. I'm not really sure how they timed that out, but the way it was happening is I'd be on one side, I'd miss the event, and then there was another one on the other side. I was like, oh, gotta get there. Gliding, like, not even gliding anywhere because I'm trying to go up, not down half the time, because it was just it was a pain in the ass in a good way, because then I felt, man, I really need to get to these events, because if I don't get to the events and I don't do them and I don't level up my masteries, I'm not going to get to more events because I'm going to miss them all the time. And I'd like to feel that feeling more, like, especially with raids as well. Like, ain't it? Don't I want to feel this feeling when I'm playing raids.
Yeah, we're gonna park
especially
that segue right now, but we'll come back to it because I
yeah,
do want to
I
talk
know.
about raids.
But
I guess this is the question I have for you. Is it necessary to create the feeling of frustration so that players feel frustrated, but then when they unlock masteries, they feel better about it? So you feel like you're progressing.
I think I'm gonna I'm gonna compare it also to how one plays, say, in a regular RPG. If anyone's played Star Wars: Old Republic, okay.
Okay.
That shit isn't easy, especially when you're on a higher difficulty mode, and there's definitely a feeling of progression. Like, you definitely feel a different level of the game at some point. And you have to progress yourself evenly to get to everything, in a proper time, I guess. But this, it didn't feel like I had to like rush through masteries, because I could still get places. It's not like this was stopping me from going anywhere, like, entirely. Because this is a roadblock. You can't go here. No, it just felt like frustrating in the good way. When I'm saying frustrating in the good way, I say, like, I'm frustrated that I can't do this, so I need to level this portion up. I think frustration in games is, like, required. I actually took a class on this not too long ago.
Educated on it. I know all about it because I took a class.
I took one class. Hey, that class, the book was this big, okay? It was this big. Oh my god.
Oh, speaking of things that are this big.
Please, no.
Oh my god. Anyway, no, it was like the feeling of frustration should be a driving force to play, like, get to this point more. I know some people and also has to vary between people because different people handle frustration in different ways. Unless I am completely, like, if I'm hitting my head against something a million times, for instance, when I was doing the Queen's Gauntlet last year, I think it was last year, I was at the last boss of the Queen's Gauntlet. I was hitting my head against that so many times. I was like, I gotta get this done. I've gotta get that title. And I was yelling. I was literally swearing at my computer, like, all the time. And my parents were like, what the heck is wrong with you? Were you crazy person? And it's like, this thing. That isn't always good, but this is not that level of frustration. This is more of this is kind of annoying that I can't get to this place fast enough, or this part of the game. is kind of like this, you know.
So on a frustration scale from 1 to pre-camera patch doing Troll's End on a Norn, right, where do we fall? Up, somebody bought out those electro dyes that were cheap. Good job, whoever did that.
Oh, jeez. Oh man. No. I think it's like kind of not quite in the middle, but a little bit before the middle.
Okay.
Of that scale.
So it's less than half the bullshit Troll's End nonsense.
Yes, it's less than half the bullshit Troll's End nonsense.
All right, that's probably good.
So So if we're talking masteries in general here, I have a question for you, Raz. Actually, so my major concern with masteries the whole time, and I haven't really seen anything to alleviate this, is that they seem like they'll be very one-dimensional and very niche, and it'll allow you to do something and then be useless for anything else. So like you have to level up your gliding to be able to get to these areas. But when the next expansion comes out, you won't use gliding anymore. It's something you'll have ground for, like you grind to do it, and then you've accomplished it, and then now it's just something that you did, right?
It'd be hard. It's hard to answer that question because we don't have anything after this right now. Like, the gliding the 4 maps they're making right now are going to have gliding and the mushrooms and whatever new masteries they come out with as we get a little bit past expansion, because they're going to be releasing stuff after expansion as well. So who knows? There might be a whole new masteries for all sorts of other things. The one masteries that do sort of feel that way, and they're only are I don't know if they'll feel that way. They'll only feel that way right now, I guess, because we don't have anything afterward as well. It's the lore masteries. Which I think there need to be that way just because they're specific to, there's the Exalted one and the Nuwak one and the what was the other one? I can't even remember what it was. It was the Froggy one.
The Froggy one.
The Froggy one. I'll just call it that. Those are very niche because they're directed at a specific race, I guess, and wherever that race is, those become relevant. This forest is gleaming with all those races, so right now they'll be very relevant. Who knows after this expansion what new areas we're going to be getting, if there's new races that we're going to interact with, and what masteries they'll have for lore-based kind of things. So
I guess just in general, my concern is that masteries feel like something that just added to give you something to grind for, and they don't make any big lasting changes to how you play the game or your character.
Well, there's definitely going to be big lasting changes, especially if they make certain masteries usable in raids. Again, we're talking about raids a lot. For instance, we saw in the video with gliding. Gliding is going to be pretty important in the raid they're going to be doing. So they'll make them relevant in different ways as we get close. The more they release, the more we'll see how these masteries. I feel like with this expansion, masteries are not going to be understood properly at all until we get something else afterwards. Because this is the first iteration of masteries. This is the first time we're experiencing them in this expansion.
I think it's worth maybe talking about how difficult we as players are making it on ArenaNet. I don't necessarily like the making a game is hard and so everything they do is great. That's not an attitude that I like. But I sort of feel like maybe we're trying to make them thread a needle that's almost impossible. So we want something that feels like we're progressing our characters, but also isn't required. We want something that gives us something to do after we're max level, but we don't want it to feel like we have to do it before we can do other things, right? We want it to be lasting, but not a grind. We want it so
we don't live in a perfect world, unfortunately, and it's almost impossible to make a quote-unquote golden game, perfect game. I like masteries. Someone else won't like masteries for a different reason. That's just the way it works.
For somebody who plays 5 hours a day, you're going to get through them too fast, right?
Yeah,
they're not going to last very long.
Well, actually, no. I played the map for at least several hours. They don't level up very quickly. Not super slow, but they level up at a certain pace, and you have to. Do you know how you level them up? Do you know how they level up at least a little bit? So
yeah,
you do.
It's pretty confusing.
basically they act like your new experience bar. So you'll get your experience bar set at 80, but it's still going up as you get experience. So your experience is counting towards the mastery that you select. So you have to select a mastery to level up. You have points to put into that mastery line, or the mastery line, and when you level it up entirely, you get to put a point into it. And every different mastery, like, I guess, like, iteration requires a little bit more mastery points. So you have to level that up more to put more points into them. So it won't be super fast, I don't think. I think it'll be at a good place where it's like, if you really want to get to the max level of gliding, you have to do a bit more stuff in the game to get to that point.
Yeah, but I think the core problem is players who are casual players and players who are lots of hours everyday players. If they're progressing these at the same rate, which they will, right? All players progress mastery tracks by earning experience by playing the game. There's not really a great point. Like it's hard to find that balance. Not everybody's going to be happy because it's going to take some players months and months and months to get done what other players get done in a few weeks. And there's not a fix for that. Like that's not a criticism of the system. It's just that's how it works.
It's life, man.
Yeah, like so I think everybody's a little worried about that balance.
I think what they did really well alongside of the masteries. I don't know if they did this. I think they did this on purpose because they realized something like that. For people who don't want to grind, they want to have a purpose for something. So what else? Another thing I experienced was they have the new reward system. I don't remember it being in place the last beta weekend, but I saw it this time, and I kind of experienced it a little bit this time. So I went to Ore. Yeah, my God, Rabbit, go away. I am still here. It's like Netflix. It's asking you all in the middle of a movie. You're like watching. You're like, yeah, this is cool and silly. Netflix
I'm
like,
trying
are you
to watch
still
Nude
here?
Guns with big guns. Why are you doing this?
Like, I'm watching the movie. Yes, I'm still watching the movie. But no, I experienced the reward system. It's actually really neat. I saw what rewards were part of. It's like if you hover over the name, it shows you what reward is next, and then it gives you a random assortment of rewards that could be next. So you have to do, I don't know what type of, I'm not really still sure what type of events you have to do to get the reward. I think it's map events, like actual meta events, maybe. I think so. Not just little tiny events. I'm not sure. I wasn't paying too close of attention. Also, my inventory was pretty full because I had the stupid amount of like weapons and sigils and runes in my inventory crying up everywhere. I hit F and I'm full of inventory. I'm like, no. But no, I think that's like one of their like things saying this isn't pointless. Like you have masteries, and alongside while you're doing events, you'll get rewards for making legendary weapons or armor or whatever, or back pieces while you're doing these things. So it's kind of like you do one thing and you get all this stuff, and of course that also makes the problem like I have all the stuff. What am I gonna do with it?
All right, so I have a question I want to pass around to everybody and then maybe move on to the elite specs. Which mastery do you intend to level first, and why is it the one that's going to auto loot and put stuff directly into your inventory? Let's start with Vol.
Gliding, because gliding is fucking awesome.
It is pretty awesome.
I can jump off of shit and not die. I mean,
well, remember, there's a bar, there's a meter that tells you how long you can glide.
And it's only in the jungle.
Oh, you can only do it in the jungle?
You're only going to be able to glide in the jungle, and that's something that I think is important. And actually, you level your masteries in the different zones. I'm out of focus here. Come back. So when you're in the jungle, you level your jungle masteries, and when you're in not the jungle, you level your other masteries.
Your Tyria masteries, or
I
whatever.
like your description there. When you're in the not jungle.
The not jungle. You've got your jungle, and you've got your not jungle.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna say gliding because I came from Arcage and gliding in there was amazing.
Oh yeah, that was. I have to agree with that. That was the one. That was the one thing that made Arcage worth it. Right. One good thing about Arcage.
The gliding was amazing.
But then flying the gliders wasn't.
Of course, I don't know if they intended it to be. You had like that boost that like boosted you up in the air, so you could just climb mountains and stuff, and you'd see like secret farms up there. Oh my God, I was an awful person.
God,
I stole all the stuff. I stole all the stuff. I stole everything.
So I guess the better question is everybody going to do gliding first in the jungle?
No.
No.
Wait, really? So you're going to do not gliding when you're for your Maguma jungle mastery?
Um,
Who'll go first?
I want to retake my question or retract my statement because I don't know what the others are.
We're gonna pull Kyle into
I
this
know.
now. Congratulations, Kyle.
Yay!
I know, and I know which one I'm.
All right, Raz, which one are you gonna do first?
I'm
Mushrooms?
gonna do I'm gonna do exalted lore.
Okay.
Because these exalted are, I don't know who. Well, mainly because right now I don't know who they are, and I'm really fascinated by what they are, and also with the lore-based masteries, you get access to like solo content that you can do, like looking for secret treasure. You can also fight a champion of the race multiple times, like every day, for a daily reward. Like that sounds awesome. So it's kind of, it feels. I always like go back to like, it always gives me flashbacks of Queen's Gauntlet, because I always loved Queen's Gauntlet. Was such fun and awful frustrating time for me. So when I find solo content that I can do, like, I know this game is all about like the teamwork and stuff, but it's also nice to have a refreshing solo based content to do.
Teamwork.
Okay.
So I think that's really cool. I think after that I would probably do gliding, because I mean you need to get around. So
Okay.
I looked at them now. I would agree with Raz. I'd probably do Master Lore first.
You're not
Because
allowed to
lore is
agree with people,
awesome.
Kyle. Jeez.
lore is pretty awesome. See, I'm a lore nerd.
Yeah.
I spend hours on the wiki constantly.
It's just I love the game's story. So,
Well, so I like the lore too, but I feel like that mostly just like opens up vendors and gives you little abilities. Like it doesn't necessarily, and I could be wrong. I'd be really surprised if this is wrong, but I haven't seen any indication that the lore mastery track gives you more lore about the
Because
races.
there isn't really anything in the lore mastery track right now.
Okay.
Like, there's nothing. The places that they're talking about aren't implemented, I don't think, because.
Well, but when they use examples, they're always talking about like vendors, and you can use this special poison, or you
there,
get the special heal.
there is a couple vendors you can go to for the frog guys, and then there's other things you can do that I don't think are in the game right now, like the
Okay.
treasures that they're talking about, secret areas that you can go to.
All right. Well, I guess we'll figure it out. So, core Tyria mastery. Which one are we doing first? Because I've talked about the Pack Commander one,
Gliding.
because I really want that inventory. You can't do gliding.
you seem
can't
to
be
not
gliding.
understand.
Shut up.
You keep using that word. I don't think that word means what you think it means.
I need to find the regular Master.
I like to hover through the air slowly.
Pact Commander Mastery, which gives you extra speed in cities and little icons and titles and the inventory thing, is going to be competing with Fractal Masteries. And we don't know what those are going to be yet.
Do they have a mastery to bitch slap a Condi Mesmer in Overworld?
Please.
What
I
if
don't
it's
think
gonna
so.
be World v. World match?
I don't think so.
What about some Condi Thieves too? Add them in there.
Condi
They
Thieves.
deserve it.
We got to talk later about that one Condi Thief. He was yapping
Oh
a little
my
on the
God.
forums, but that's for another time. So actually,
time.
this is maybe a good segue into talking about the elite specializations. So we
Oh,
had
no.
a bunch of new elite specializations that were available for us to
Reaper's
play,
awesome.
It is.
and everybody
gosh.
seems to love Reaper. So okay,
Reaper is the favorite.
I haven't
You know,
played
I
Reaper.
actually didn't like Reaper. I mean, that's just me.
I want to know what's the big thing with Reaper. Is it just spin to win, and everybody loves it? And it's got big numbers?
wait. I'll leave everyone else to talk first.
All right, Kyle, Vol, one of you guys want to tell me why Reaper's so great?
I think it's just cool. You get a giant scythe. Let's be
So
honest.
much detail. Such a.
You get a giant scythe.
But so, like, you're saying from like a skill animation perspective.
Yeah, their
Yes, but
animations are
also-
awesome.
It is super useful with the abilities that they get. They have a few freezes, which is super helpful in case you don't have Ellie's for dungeons or fractals.
Okay,
Lots of chill.
chill,
Let's bring in, yeah.
chill, bro.
Chill out, bro.
All right,
I don't
Rez,
know
I'm
what
not
else.
convinced. You gotta convince me. I'm not feeling it.
Okay. Do you want
Brinkle
me to
says
say?
you feel like a badass.
I feel like oh my gosh, you feel like a badass. Oh my god. Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna go on my tangent here. So sorry, Vol.
All right, I'm gonna sit back,
Oh, no, go
relax
ahead.
here.
So, firstly, a great sword is awesome because first of all, Gravedigger, 20k crit on someone. Oh my god. I didn't have video of it, but it happened. And I have eyewitnesses. Of this 20k crit. This
Oh my
shit
God.
hits hard. It is so hard. I downed someone from 50% to 0. And then you just sit on their body like going 2. The cooldown reduction is 100% if you hit a downed player or one that's 50% health.
What?
It is
not-
so hard. You just
Okay.
go Marauder and you just go Gravedigger on people. And if they're around, so like if you have a guy, okay, so if you're in a team fight and there's someone with 50% health around you, you hit everyone around you for that much. Like it's just crazy. You just sit there on a dead body and you can kill the person trying to res them. You just hit 2 all the time. It's the heart seeker for Necros.
Except multi-target.
Except multi-target, it's more.
And
Reaper
doesn't
is
cost
the
energy.
new theme.
Or,
The 5 is way better than it was before. It is so funny. The stun combos on this specialization are insane. It's just
Oh,
so
the
if you
grabby
get
hands.
them off, you do the
grabby hands?
the grabby hands. It's just like this hand comes out of the ground. If you use Sunrise, like you see like the swords come out and come back. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
But like you can use the elite shout chill to the bone. So if you get that on them, that freezes them for 2 seconds. You throw out the 5, and as the 5 is going out, you just go into Reaper Shroud, and as they come back, you just wham the 5 in there, just boom, icicle, just spin around. It's so cool. The
I love
Reaper
how
Shroud
excited you are about it.
Oh, so cool. What else? Oh, the Reaper Shroud. Okay, that's an entirely different beast. Like, oh my gosh. Everything on it is. I think the problem right now with Reaper is that Reaper Shroud is 100% better than Life Shroud. Like Death
It's
Shroud
just
is
too
100% better. The auto attack hits so fast. If you have the trait that gives you increased attack speed while in Reaper Shroud, that thing just like, you know.
Yeah, if you're a
The two-
Giant Norm as well, the scythe is fucking huge.
Oh yeah.
It's like 14 feet tall.
Oh my gosh. The 2 is great, like giving the Necro that kind of, I mean, they have the teleport on Dark Path, but that like can miss sometimes. This actually moves you, and it's really nice. You can use it as escape, I guess, but it's a really good offensive skill. Like that shit just hits really hard too. Giving them a skill like they have the stability skill, and then you can shatter it for fear. Like having that gives them on-demand stability. Like you can just go into Reaper Shroud, hit that, and just stomp Flay all the time.
Well, and Necro was missing that quite a bit, right?
Oh yeah, they needed that. Like what was it? The trait that gives you stability when you swap into
Foot in the
Death
grave?
Shroud. It don't. Yeah. It doesn't really. I mean, it's okay. It only gives you 1 stack of stability.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So
only
this
for 3
is
seconds.
this skill. It has intervals. It can stack up to 3, I think. But that's really strong. The spinny attack. Oh my gosh. That I have to agree. That's a bit strong right there. That thing hits hard. It implies it can apply up to like 15 stacks of poison. I was on Marauder Amulet. That thing was hitting for 900 poison damage. Like that's insane. And then 5 is really cool. Just it's so satisfying to see that scythe come down on someone's head and just boom and just freeze them in an icicle. So yeah, that's why it's so cool. And the shouts are pretty cool too. They actually fixed the shouts a lot. The Rise one is a lot better than it used to be because it has the reduced damage on you while your minions are attacking people, so they take the damage instead. That's kind of useful. Not in much in PvP, but in PvE is actually really useful. And the only ones I didn't use were the chill one and the unblockable one, the one that makes your attacks unblockable. Those are the ones I didn't use.
So I guess my question is this: is it balanced?
No.
All right, there you go.
That's
Is
way
it-
too much. It does. They just need to reduce some of the numbers on things, like especially the Gravedigger. That needs to.
Well, with
that needs to go
100%
down.
cooldown reduction, like
on a down body and someone
The
who's
thing
damaged
is, though, is that attack is very, very, very easy.
it's
to
really
dodge.
slow. It's a really
Yeah.
slow attack. I think
It
if
has
they
like
just
a
reduce
second
the
and a half
numbers a
that time.
tiny, like they brought it down a tiny bit, like a little bit, I think it'd be fine because it's really slow. Once people get used to it, they'll start dodging it all the time. Because if you dodge it, then the cooldown reduction isn't there. So
if
without cooldown.
everybody dodges it.
Well, let's see. In a team fight, it's a different scenario. You don't know what's going to happen. Of course, everything's hitting you by then anyway. And it requires you to be within a certain range. The radius of the attack is actually very small. So, yes, Rabbit, I'm still here. Ask you if I'm still here. How do I turn that off?
You don't. By the way, for people who are watching on the stream, we're using a thing called Rabbit, RABB.IT. I love it. It's like a video chat thing. You get to share windows. You can play videos here, and everybody can watch them. So we use them for like guild movie night. It's pretty sweet. So if you haven't checked it out,
we
check
haven't
it out.
had in a
It's
while.
basically Skype with video. Like you can all watch something.
What's really cool is you get a URL that you send people to, and it's like your room, and people can join. So they literally just added support for friends, but it's a pretty cool thing. I like it. Okay, so here's, I guess, the side question. We can see it's not necessarily balanced for PvP or maybe world versus world. Is it going to make Necro better for dungeons? And this, I know this is like a tough question because like.
Yep.
It's not a tough question.
The Necro hate is a little strong, and I know Necros are sensitive about it. All right, I call on you, Raz. Jesus Christ, man.
I'm probably not the only one who tested in dungeon. I think, Kyle, did you test it in dungeon?
No.
Okay, I did actually. I did run it in dungeon. Okay, Vol did, and it was really good. Like, and I don't know if it was Kyle mentioned it. It was actually really nice to have the phrase. Having those stuns on Necro gives it a whole other level of usefulness, besides fear, because now that as a Necro you have access to. They can get rid of Defiance, although Defiance won't be a big deal in the expansion. Well, the break bars, but they'll still be usable after that. Like you'll be able to take down break bars as a Necro. You're not just stuck with, and you have even more because you have more access to blinding as a Reaper as well with the Greatsword, because the 4 in the Greatsword is it ticks blinding while it's out and then blinds it at the end. So you have more access to blind. You've access to stability. You've access to Condi transferal. So something actually. I forgot to mention this before. I'm gonna kind of connect these 2 points together. When I was playing the beta in the world, I experienced a significant more amount of Condis coming at me from the enemies.
Okay.
I was surprised, and I've died to them. Specifically, the Mordremoth Tormentors, who are a pain in the ass because you don't see them anywhere. They just sit in the back and put 10 stacks of Torment on you that kills you in an instant.
Wait, the Tormentors apply Torment?
Torment.
Huh.
What?
They apply Torment, and I think some Confusion as well.
Doesn't make sense. That's weird game design, ArenaNet.
But no,
Everybody
I saw
put
more
on your
bleeding.
smell a fart face.
I saw more bleeding, more confusion, more torment, more poison. I saw a lot more Condis coming up, and so going back to the Necro has a lot more access to Condi manipulation from its shouts and from other things. So I think I like Plague Signet would be really good if we come up with a boss that's they do a lot of Condi things. We'll have a Necro who can soak that up and just get rid of it.
Right.
Or
Hang on,
Revenant.
I'm going to interrupt you because ARP Gaming HD requires our attention.
Okay.
Bring it.
I am so ready.
Nope, he wanted us to make mention of him, so we're just going to sit here awkwardly for a moment.
Oh, okay.
I was doing this. I was like, I'm ready.
Is that good? I feel like that's enough. Is that
Okay,
enough attention?
Cool. All right. Back
all right.
to my tangent. No, I don't know. It's really
That totally threw you off, didn't it?
Reaper is cool.
yeah.
Reaper's
Reaper
cool.
is really awesome.
Okay, so
I
we
think
like
it'll
Reaper.
help
Best spec?
the spec, yeah.
Maybe.
Vol, what was your experience?
No, so actually, I do want to
Spec.
jump on what you were saying there, which was enemies in the open world using Condis. Does that open up more options for Necromancer, which can do condition manipulation? Revenant might have some strength there, or maybe does it make Mesmer a little bit more useful, because Mesmer does have some really interesting Condi clears and spams, and not conversion, but they have arcane thievery. So do these things start to do these classes start to get a little bit of a bump in utility because of the increased condition application? Who wins, basically?
No one else.
I think just my opinion on this, we can't say for sure until we get into dungeon/raids in the new game, because open world, I think it's just anybody's game. Maybe you can do it for yourself, but nobody cares about supporting the team. So.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a different story in open world than is in raids, but we'll have to see whatever fractals they come up with in the future. I mean, who knows what kind of Condi things will be coming out.
Oh yeah, so here's a fun poll. Will there be new fractals at launch? Because we don't know, right? We have no idea. What do you guys think? Quick straw poll. Tristan.
I hope yes.
I hope yes.
Yeah.
Karam.
I hope yes, but I expect no.
Raz.
It's a hard one.
That's what she
I
said.
think that's what he said.
Oh.
I think yes, but I'm not holding my breath. The reason I think yes is because 100 levels. How boring would it be to go 100 levels more of the same stuff? I think Arena is aware of the fact that making 100 levels means they need to make more fractals. So maybe not this expansion. Maybe. I mean, I'm saying it could be entirely possible that there's new fractals.
I want to jump in on that because my thing is like, well, maybe it won't be at launch, but they'll add some shortly after. But because the fractal scales are tied to individual map plus instabilities, does that not make it very much more difficult for them to add new maps in because it's not random anymore?
Yeah. And so I agree, and I also think, so they say 50 more levels, right? But it's really 50 divided by 4 because it's single fractals now instead of a sequence of them.
Yep.
So 50 levels isn't going to be much. It's going to be another 12.
Yep.
And with them being single fractals, like per run, right? That's what they are doing?
Yep. So like level 53 will be swamp plus every time your health ends in 1, you take 322 damage. Right?
Okay.
That'd be so funny.
So then with that, with them being single fractals, I could see them probably adding at least a few to start close to.
Well, but that's the thing is that to start is not going to be a factor here because I have a hard time seeing them say, well, look, we're going to build out 50 more levels with these fractals and these instabilities and testing them and making sure they work and making sure they make sense. And then 6 months down the line, they go like, oh yeah, we're actually going to replace one of these. I don't think that's going to be the case. If they don't do new maps at launch of HOT, I don't think we'll get new fractal maps until the next expansion.
I don't think.
Well, I have to remember they didn't. They said in their post that they weren't finished talking about fractals. So
we haven't talked about the masteries. We haven't talked about the vendors that sell you the little things. There's a bunch that we haven't talked about, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be maps. That's one of my big open questions is, are we going to get new fractal islands? That's the term they use for them, islands.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't know, but I am relatively confident that it's going to be at hot launch or not at all. And that's the thing that concerns me. Because like with raids, we're getting 0 raids at launch. Right? There are no raids at launch. There is 1/3 of a raid a couple months or whatever after launch. But we don't know about fractals. So I think that's going to be really interesting to figure out. I don't know what that answer is, but I am curious to get it whenever they decide to tell us. Well, we don't have long to wait. There's only 7 weeks?
Yep.
A little over a month.
Countdown.
Brr, brr, brr. All right. Next elite spec. Who's got one they want to talk about?
Daredevil.
Daredevil? All right, Daredevil.
I can talk about Daredevil.
All right, Kyle.
I'll let Kyle talk first.
I know you were really excited.
So yeah, I was super excited hearing about it because even before they revealed the data mine pictures, it was probably going to be staff, which is way better than rifle.
Oh, shots fired, but not from a rifle.
So when it was staff, I was really excited. I bought one actually in anticipation for once it drops. But then I'm a little disappointed with how it is at the moment. Based as staff as a weapon and some parts of the Daredevil spec itself as they have it right now after the first beta weekend. I feel like with staff, which you've probably all heard before, it doesn't flow well together as a weapon.
So is that like, is that after cast? Like you use a skill, but then it's a little bit before you can use another skill?
It's that, and you travel really, really weirdly in a lot of them. It doesn't work.
The main difficulty with the like my main irk with Daredevil was the new dodges.
Yeah, mine too.
They were cool. Don't get me wrong. They were really cool looking. They probably sounded awesome on paper. They just were not executed properly by the animation team or whoever was the team that worked on that particular portion. Yes. Oh my God.
To be honest, they could have left the dodge animation the same, just changed animation a little bit.
Yeah. Well, they probably. Well, actually, that was brought up to me, and I remember. I think it was you, Vol, that told me you could just not take that Grandmaster.
That was
I actually
me.
tried
Like,
that,
that's
and I was
huge,
like, "Oh my God,
not
this is so
taking
good."
a Grandmaster trait.
Yes, thank you
Yeah.
guys.
Like, I get that that's an
I
option.
It's
tried
what
it.
you have to do, though.
I tried it, and it was 100% effective. And then after that, the only roadblock was the staff a little bit. But the animations, particularly two of them, the Bound and the little Lotus one, were the big ones that I had a hard time with. The Dash was like the best out of the three, just because the animation wasn't too jarring, and you could at least chain them together, but better than the other two.
Right.
And you can actually the big. Okay, so let me just.
It was
back up.
fast. It was a lot faster
was
than
fast.
the other ones,
Wanna
too.
say hi?
Yes.
The animations, they locked you in at the end of the animation. Hi, Babs.
Hey,
They
Babs.
locked you in at the
Everybody
end,
says
end
hi.
of the animation for about like a quarter of a second. And that's really awful because normal dodges don't do that. Normal dodges flow very
Exactly.
well, and they're very, you can just start moving around after you've completed your animation. But like with the bound, you jump up and you slam on the ground.
Man, and you stay there.
And you stay there for like, I mean, it feels like eternity in PvP. Like you're fighting someone and you're sitting there. It's like, I have landed.
Surprise MO.
Yeah, so my guess is what they did is they changed your dodge into a skill instead of a dodge. So they changed it into a skill that doesn't evade, but a skill that has an aftercast. And I don't know if there are skills without aftercasts in Guild Wars 2. I actually don't have that level of knowledge of the system, but my guess is that's what's happening, and hopefully they can fix that, because that sounds terrible.
What they just need to do is make them flow better. Like the animations need to be cleaned up. That is the biggest problem. The staff is an entirely different monster by itself. The only issue I had with the staff was I couldn't stealth with it. I know that the whole like idea around Daredevil was, oh, you dodge around to do stuff, but it's like, yeah, but I'm still a thief. I still play like a thief.
So this
still
turned
have
into
the
kind of a
health
big
and-
argument in TeamSpeak the other day. And I think Vol was there, and I think I was arguing with Brosif maybe. But the basic thing that I was saying was Daredevil gives you the ability to do lots of dodges, the ability to do lots of damage, and the ability to do lots of stealth, but you can only do 2 or 3 of those well.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was kind of
Mediocre at the
my...
last one.
And Daredevil, actually, I came up with some sort of like weird knockdown combo build with Shadow Arts, Critical Strikes, and Daredevil. And it was the only thing that really kind of worked because, Shadow Arts, Critical Strikes, and Daredevil. You bring Shadow's Embrace. You bring
Mellow Shadows?
the one that you stealth when you steal.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
bottom mid for
Hidden,
the
I think
build.
it's gain stealth. Yeah, Hidden Thief, and then
Shadow's Rejuvenation.
yeah, Shadow's Rejuvenation,
It's
and then
always the
critical
same on Shadow
and then
Arts.
critical strikes. It's
Top,
side
mid.
strike. Yeah, side strike.
Top mid,
Mid, and then top. The other one.
No quarter.
No quarter. Yeah.
No quarter is
Absolutely.
good.
And then-
This is actually
Man.
pretty close to what I'm running in World versus World. I just switched into this, although I started using Venomous Auras, which has been pretty trolly and fun for what we do.
And then
I'm using
must say, I like
Trickery
those
now.
moves.
yeah. The
Actually,
only
that's
problem
the
with
build I'm
this.
using too.
The only problem with this build was that I was low on initiative a lot, and I wasn't used to having the 3 less initiative from you get from Trickery. So, but I mean, with the staff and the way that it works, like the thing that I say that staff could just use is the smoke field. Just I say that turn that smoky
Turn the
whatever the 4 attack that kicks the dust
blind.
up, make it a smoke field in a line, so you can actually use the leap attack effectively. Like.
The most useless skill
Right.
Thief has.
And it's
Very
not like
useful.
you'll be OP because that leap skill uses like what 6 initiative, so you're using almost half of your initiative to use this to get a stealth. So you're getting all, and that would make it a bit better because then you could use stealth as something to evade attacks. You could use the little dodge thing on the staff to evade attacks. There's a lot of useful abilities. Oh, and the number 2 needs to be fixed. It needs to not go through enemies, and it can't lock you in an animation like that.
It
Needs to be changed. It should just be changed entirely. I don't like the skill at all. Yeah, redo that skill.
Then
What does the number 2 do?
It's like the spinning
it's like
attack.
The spin weakness through them.
Yeah,
But
you
slowly go forward and hit them.
a lot of
It's
the
like
time
the
you go
opposite.
way too far.
It's like the necrocopter.
Necrocopter. Well,
Kind of.
kind of, except the
No.
necrocopter does a lot more. It's more useful.
Yeah.
Right, but like it's that animation.
Kind of.
I feel like they
Except
use
you're
that
kinda-
on Revenant too.
Well, that's not the same animation exactly, because the
Close.
Necro actually holds the sword out while the thief is holding the staff like this, like this, and just
Like a
spinning
crossbar?
around. Yeah,
Yeah, they just kind of hit one side of the face.
but that was my big beef with Daredevil.
When
Okay.
I was running my super god build, as you guys all put it down, first
Your
let me
super
say
god build.
that-
Your
Let me
stupid
say
zombie boom.
that it worked sometimes.
Yeah.
Keyword there.
I seem to remember a certain person on the internet maybe
Hey,
commenting
no,
about
hey.
it.
That wasn't when I was on my Daredevil. That was when I was just on my thief and having a bad time.
Okay, okay.
So, what I was doing, I could clearly see this was happening because I had caltrops on dodge. When I was dodging, if I would press it like press it a couple times, like you heard,
Mhm.
hopefully, it would dodge twice. Like I'd see 2 sets of caltrops on the ground and 2 dodges gone
Interesting.
instead of just 1. Yeah, so it completely sets off whatever I was trying to do. Just makes it harder. It's just inconvenient. That's another thing they need to fix with them.
So I think with
yeah,
a
I did
ahead.
definitely get the feeling there were bugs in how it worked, especially with the dodges and the Grandmaster trait of Daredevil. Because I can't imagine they wanted to have an aftercast, basically, and that must be what it is.
Yeah, not being able to move right after dodging is huge for thieves.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely huge.
Well, I think about things where like you might need to double dodge or shit on Daredevil triple dodge, right? You're in World versus World. There's a choke. Choke has AoE. You have to get through the choke, so you double dodge through. Well, if you
But that
dodge
dash
stop,
It's like, oh wait, you can't. Now you're remote. Now you're dead.
well, shit, that did not work well. So yeah, that's something they're really gonna have to fix.
And it
So
felt like that after
which is
every
why-
ability with staff.
With
Staff
actual-
staff just didn't have a good flow to it.
Yeah.
Like the timings on the animations need to be adjusted.
You know what
for
staff felt like? It felt like, don't get me wrong. I love Dragon Hunter, but staff felt like on Daredevil as Longbow felt with Dragon Hunter. Just felt like
I
the
could see
skills.
that.
The skills didn't really mesh together very well.
Yeah.
I think I said this in a video one time. I said like most of the skills on all the classes, like on two-handed weapons, they kind of mesh in a certain way. Like staff has a particular theme behind it. It's a Healy weapon. It's supportive. You know, greatsword is all about damage. You know, staff on Ellie is all about damage. Of course, Ellie's a bit of a misnomer because it does a lot of different things, but you know what I mean. Whereas like staff was like, it has all these random skills that don't really work together. Like, okay, I have a random dodge skill, then I have a random attack that weakens.
I think
Then I have a
think it's
line
built
that
for
shoots out.
skirmishing.
I guess. I mean, I guess the 2 and the 3 are the most like, I guess.
Right,
like,
that's important for
thematic.
thieves, right? You thief right now, if you want to like 1v1 or 1v2 or whatever, you burst something and hopefully kill it. And if not,
Yeah.
you have to stealth and hide, right? Because you can't sustain fight. So I think the
Can't, no.
idea with staff was you go in there, you know, if your burst doesn't kill them or if it gets close but not quite, right? You can go into staff. You can put weakness on so you can maybe take a few hits. It's got blinds. It's got a gap closer, so if people start to run, you can, you know, gap close. And I think that was the idea of it. Is it's more meant for like what I would think of as world versus world roaming.
I think that if you were going to use the leap attack as a gap closer, they should make it a targeted ability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because as it is right
You
now,
have to lower
that thing is
initiative
too
costs
short
and
for
stuff.
like any escape.
Yeah.
What's important about that?
Range.
they're adding the option so that any ground targeted attacks can snap to target.
Oh
Have you seen this? This was data mined.
Oh.
So
yeah, you talked about the other night.
There's going to be an option that anything that's ground targeted, if you can enable an option, and what it'll do is it'll target it at wherever the enemy is.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but that doesn't always work.
So
Well,
it's like old Necro Wells.
The thing that won't work is like engineer grenades, because you have to lead the attacks.
Or thief, like short bow 2 and 4. Like, that won't work.
Yeah.
I think it depends on how fast they're moving, but yeah, like slower moving projectiles, it probably won't work.
See, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. Ah.
I don't think that I'll
It won't
use
work
it,
for
but
so like dropping a meteor shower on a point, stuff like that.
As a PvP player who plays PvP very, 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 very often, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't use
like it. I wouldn't use it just because I like the freedom to have my choice of where I'm putting the skill, and that's why if we were to make like the leap, whatever, the pole vaulting skill. That's what we'll call it. Pole vault.
It's called vault. That's the name of the skill.
I know, but it should be called pole vault.
Jumps the layup.
It should, if they're going to make it sound like, and they kind of made it sound like it's an escape skill, but the animation takes forever, and it's short, and it doesn't really work. Short bow is a better escape weapon than staff is.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, so when I saw Daredevil, I kind of went, well, staff, I like the idea of it, right? I like the idea of smashing somebody's face in with a staff, but I feel like I'm still probably going to run DP short bow, but swap
With
in
the
the
Daredevil
Daredevil traits, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did.
If you were to do that,
And
like, that'd be the
not
best option, probably.
Any final thoughts on
That
Daredevil?
damage on dodge trait was beastly. Like 10%
It was.
damage
Oh, don't
every
get
time
me
you
wrong.
dodge.
The
That
damage was
insane.
huge, and it's elite finisher too. So you could combine that with your DP, like with your offhand pistol,
that
black
trait
bolt.
right there was
That
awesome.
thing is insane.
That's a nice damage modifier. So I was looking at that, and I liked the dash one. I also
That's the
liked
one I ran,
The dash one's the
dodge
only
does
one that
damage.
works.
Yeah, the dash one's really the only one that kind
Yes,
of
it is,
works properly.
That skill right there is so slow, bounding dodger. That takes like 3 seconds.
Like
for the
you
whole
can
thing to go
so
off.
anticipate where, like,
Yeah.
The animations need
can
to be a
hit
bit
someone
faster on those.
and destroy a thief if they're using that dodge, just because
Yeah.
of how they're gonna land. It's
I
like
think-
the staff. You're stuck in
The
Well,
the
staff
across
one
the
needs
entire
to do
map.
an evade. Like, you're in the air.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, come on. Anyway, let's move on.
Let's move on. Tempest.
Didn't play it. Don't
Sucks,
care
yeah.
to.
I didn't play it either because I played it the last beta weekend, and I didn't play it this time because they didn't implement the changes yet that they talked about on the forums.
Okay.
They are, and I didn't play. And on to note that I didn't play the Dragon Hunter either because they didn't implement the changes. Not that I didn't like either of them. In fact, for the first beta weekend, I thought that Tempest was the most complete version besides the Reaper, because it was really good. I was really surprised that when I saw it, I was like not impressed. Then I played it, and I was like, oh, this is actually, it's different. Like, it's actually different play than you would see on an Ellie. But once you like kind of figured it out, all the pieces kind of fit together. Like, oh, I can see why I would use this in this situation. you
So
know?
it's interesting that you say that, because I feel like mostly the reaction that I've seen has been relatively negative.
That's because people are bad. People are bad at the game, Loki. No. I think that's based mostly towards the overcharges, mostly, which I do agree. The overcharges need tweaking. Like, they need major tweaking because
The
some
problem
of
with
them.
that is like you take Tempest for overcharge. I feel like because none of the traits are particularly that good.
Yeah, the traits are a complete wash.
Any
The-
competent player can interrupt the overcharge easily, which
Well,
is completely just ruins
yeah,
you.
or unless you're using the Earth one, that's still kind of like
Yeah.
and that can still get stopped.
I can still get stumped. But the main thing about Tempest was that the Warhorn was super good. That was the main thing that surprised me. I loved the Warhorn. All the skills on it felt really awesome. Like, I felt, and it was impactful. Like, all of the fire skills, the water skills especially, with the, like, multiple healing skills, and the moving water field. The earth skills were my favorite because they, especially the one that increases boon duration by 2 seconds. Like,
Okay.
that was huge. Like, whoa, that was really cool. Yeah, kind of, you wouldn't expect it on an elementalist, and I mentioned that once, but I was like, this actually feels pretty good. So I wasn't disappointed with the Warhorn. I was disappointed with the traits because I didn't really want to take any of them except the one that made you immune to like soft CC, Trail, Cripple, Immobilize.
The only good trait, in my opinion, was that one where if you get stunned or whatever, it activates that one right there.
Yeah, the Gale Song is also really good. If you use the one that makes you invulnerable to like immobilize and stuff, you feel like a god when you're on using the Earth Overcharge. You're just like pointing your finger forward, like da 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 da. That was what I did. That was the first when I first played Tempest. I just went out like that as we got out of it. So, that's the one I hate the most. Imbued melodies. It has no purpose in that trait line. That needs to be removed entirely and changed.
Be changed to allies.
It's the worst version. It's the worst version of the Revenant one, the Herald one, and the Guardian one.
Okay, so what does it do? Because the Dolphy calc doesn't actually have the information here.
What it does in game is that whenever you use a Warhorn skill, you break stun of everyone around you, but it's on a 10-second cooldown. Which I guess if it was on a Warhorn trait, yes, I could understand that. But I think it was Wood Potatoes that made a comment, and I completely understood this. If you use a Warhorn skill, that trait still goes on cooldown. And if there's no one around to hear, like, oh, if you know a tree falls in the forest, does anyone hear it? Like, that's the kind of deal.
Yeah, so it goes on cooldown even if it doesn't stun break anybody.
Yeah, so Guardian's version and Herald's version have no cooldown whatsoever. So they don't care if they use a skill and no one hears it. And it just doesn't have a use.
Everybody can hear the Warhorn skills because they sound like
I have a question. Did they add the Tempest Warhorn sounds? Yep.
No, they haven't. They haven't put in the Tempest Warhorn sounds yet.
Boo! So it still sounds like bad.
Fart noises.
If a Warhorn farts,
that's an actual really like trumpet or trombone being played. You know, you're insulting all those tromboists and trumpetists.
Tromboists.
So that was my spiel on Dragon Hunter. Well, no, I didn't talk about Dragon Hunter, but we'll talk about that later.
That's Tempest, yeah. Anybody else have anything on Tempest? I know this was like a repeat, so there probably wasn't as much about it, but...
Yep.
I will hold my further opinions until after the changes, I think.
Yeah. And we'll do a quick Dragon Hunter, like just a couple minutes. I wanna move on, but did anybody go back to do Dragon Hunter?
We played Dragon Hunter the first one.
For like 30 seconds.
I played it this weekend, and I thought it was pretty fun. Really powerful. Like I was running, I don't know, greatsword, longbow with some traps, PvP, and I was doing pretty good. Don't know what I was doing, but I was doing good. Go ahead, Raz. Sorry.
Okay. I was like, well, because I'm main guardian, so I was most excited about it.
Raz is just sitting there like, no, you were bad. You were bad, son.
You're bad.
You're bad.
When I first played it in the first beta weekend, I was mostly satisfied with the outcome, mainly due to the virtues and the traps. Those are the things I was satisfied with. The traits and the longbow were the things I weren't satisfied with, and I'll briefly go over the traps. The reason I felt satisfied with them was the elite was amazing.
Oh yeah,
that elite is probably stupid strong. Like,
yeah, it's nuts.
It's insane. Okay, first of all, it's basically a better It's like a better version of Wall of Warding. It's like an obstacle that it makes an obstacle for not just the person inside, but everyone around it.
I think you can dodge through it.
If you can, but it's on a 60-second cooldown. That's the shortest cooldown elite that Guardians have, and it applies slow. Like
besides Feel My Wrath.
Oh yeah. Oh, faithful intervention. Okay, no. This is what I was doing, and people were getting mad. Start the cast of the trap. Judge's intervention. What right on top
That's
of them.
mean. That's so mean.
It's so cool.
That's
it's
awesome.
So fun. And they're just like, what the fuck just happened? And you're just
Why
like,
did I get eaten
and you
alive?
just great sword inside. Brrr.
That's pretty good.
So that was completely
because
satisfying.
You know what needed a buff was Mediguard.
Yeah, I don't actually, to be honest, I don't know if it has a place on Midgard specifically, but I'm still trying to figure out a build for it. That was the main issues because the traits were like I didn't like many of the traits on the Dragon Hunter the first time. None of them felt very exciting. The only one that was kind of cool was the one that immobilizes on Virtue of Resolve or Wings of Resolve. I mean, and then the one that increases your damage to vulnerable foes that have vulnerability on them. I think all the other stuff was just kind of weird. There was no reliable like source of crippling. Or no, it was to cripple foes. There was no reliable source of crippling. Like the only trait that gave crippling was if I forgot what it was. If you knocked them back or something. And then if your longbow managed to hit someone that had an enemy behind them, then they both got crippled. Like that was a very specific condition for that condition to be applied.
Sniper, man.
On top of that, the longbow was very clunky. The only skill that I really enjoyed on it was the 5. The raining light arrows and the whole like caging them in. That was awesome. Because the best part was that the cages appeared whether people dodged or not. Like they would just sit there and people couldn't walk through them, so you just have all these cages everywhere. I don't know if they changed that. I didn't find out, but when I saw the changes on the forums, it would be much better. There'll be a lot of good changes to the traits. Not so much to the longbow. I wish that they would address the longbow a little bit more. I mean, just a little bit. Like they changed the burning on the vigor field. They got rid of it. That's all they did, really. Oh no, they improved the reflection shot. They made it slower and made the radius bigger, so it actually you can actually use it properly.
There's actually a chance
that thing
of it
just like
reflecting
had
something?
light speed, just like you're like, oh. Well, I didn't want to block that anyway. But yeah, that was my kind of spiel that was my experience with Dragon Hunter. So it's really cool. I'm gonna play it in the beta. My Guardian will become a Dragon Hunter in the beta because of those virtues. It's only because of the virtues, really.
All right. Did they get the changes in for Chronomancer?
Yes, they did.
Yes.
Is it
And it's
reasonable?
still nuts.
Yes and no. I think it's still very, very strong. Actually, to be honest, I preferred the my regular build to Chronomancer, but I think with more practice, Chronomancer would probably be better overall. So from a PvP perspective, that's of course talking about Condi, Shatter, Chronomancer. So yeah.
I saw a lot of Chronomancers using the shield more this time than last time.
Yeah, so shield is a really cool weapon. The thing with shield though is, at least with my build, when you run shield, I lose my only Condi clear because the only thing I have is torch. So you can be really powerful and effective with shield, but Condi build will wreck you, like nobody's business.
Yeah.
Unless you're running like generosity
I ran
decisions or something like that.
Although I think that might be a
Yeah, I
flavor
was
of it.
running-
Like
Go ahead.
different
Yeah.
builds having weaknesses to different things. I felt that way on the Revenant.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that on other class specializations too, like they were lacking something specifically because that was some sort of like weakness. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. I actually like that you have some sort of like really hard, not hard counter, I want to say, but something that makes you something
weakness.
really, yeah, a weakness that you have.
One thing that they did change, so the big changes they made was the solutionary reversion there. You have to have 2 clones active for it to work. So you can't just hit your F5 and then spam all of your shatter skills with, fault clones and nothing else anymore.
Thank God.
So that's a big change, and I think a needed one. And I think it balances it out pretty well. You can still pull off some pretty nasty combos, but it's not as easy as just face rolling the F keys.
Well, yeah, because you can, if you have deceptive evasion, you can shatter, dodge, shatter. Use your time thingy to get back your endurance. Or like weapon swap in there. But there's a lot more key presses than just doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
Which the game needs more of the not this, the actually like hitting
While you're
skills
dead.
dagger Ellie's.
Yeah. How to
Shots
play Dagger
fired.
Dagger Ellie. Take keyboard. Apply keyboard
Take
directly to forehead.
Hammer.
You guys can't. My keyboard, I lifted it up. I disturbed my poor cat here who's really upset with me. Hang on. Here's Snow.
Guys, can you teach me
Oh,
how to
you
guard?
picked her up again. She's gonna get angry.
I know.
Can I teach you what?
How to guard?
How to guard? Sure,
I
I'll teach you how to
really
guard.
actually do want to learn how to play Guardian well.
Well, Bunker Guard's coming back, so I can teach you that.
Gross.
It's really fun.
Gross.
Can I
Takes a lot
do?
It takes a
Is
lot of
Medic
skill.
Guard good?
Oh, one other thing on Chronomancer, they updated the visual for Alacrity, and it looks awesome as hell.
Oh, it looks great. Oh,
Yeah.
I saw that. Alacrity was really cool, actually. While I wasn't playing Chronomancer, I was experiencing Chronomancers on my team, and the Alacrity was actually really nice having that.
You don't
In
play
the-
Chronomancer. You experience it.
Experience.
Become
It's an experience.
So the thing with the Chronomancer tree in general is you have to give up, really depending on what build you run, but any good Mesmer build these days has like 2 required trees and then 1 that you can take it in one direction or another, right? So, you run with, say, dueling and illusions, and then your third one is chaos if you want to be stealthy and, survivable, or inspiration if you want to be like super tanky, or, things like that. So like you have 2 mandatory trees and then 1 that's like mandatory between 2 options. So to take Chronomancer, you have to give up one of those kind of optional trees, and it feels like it really kind of shoe lines you into a particular role. That was kind of my criticism of it.
That move speed though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the move speed on illusions is crazy and amazing.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the 25% speed boost because I always feel so slow as Mesmer.
Oh,
And,
yes.
It's not even that. Just the clone super speed is the funniest
Yeah.
shit ever.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, yeah, I saw that.
Does that make it
No more
harder
running
to
away from
chain
shatters.
together your shatter zone?
So yes, setting up a diversion chain absolutely makes it really hard to do because they all run so fast that it's your days isn't up by the time the next one gets there. So yeah, you can't really do that anymore. So if you're trying to like stun lock somebody, you can't really do that with just diversion anymore.
Okay. So I think my cat's claw is stuck in my arm right now. There you go. I feel like that's out now. Okay. Now it's just shirt and not skin. That's an improvement. I think she actually enjoyed that, and she seems a little upset that I'm not cuddling her anymore. What do we want to talk about next? So,
Well, there's a couple more left.
we got Revenant and Berserker. Let's do Berserker first.
I forgot that was a thing.
So okay, I did play Berserker. Who else did?
I played it a little bit.
Crickets.
Me and Model ran around with full damage berserkers in multi-world. And that
Berserker
was
Berserkers?
Berserkers.
Berserkers and Berserkers? Berserkers?
Yeah.
That's a
We,
good
we
one.
ran strength, arms, berserker. That was like the glassiest shit we could ever run.
What was it like?
Well, when we got to hit stuff, they died immediately. When we did not get to hit stuff, we died immediately. So we ran into a dagger and hit him with rush for like 10k each, and we straight died. So that was pretty funny.
Also headbutt.
Headbutt.
Yeah, also headbutt is pretty funny.
Headbutt. So cool.
In general,
I think
go ahead.
so I didn't have a whole lot of experience with Berserker. My beef with Berserkers is they're basically un-CCable and they can perma stun lock you like
Oh yeah.
nobody else.
Oh yeah.
Man.
Any type of CC you have is just completely useless against
Yeah.
Berserkers the entire
Mhm.
fight.
Yep. I experienced that.
And I felt like that a little bit, or when I used to play, Hambo and then Shoutbow, and that was a really tough transition for me moving between them because when I played Hambo, I had stances, and so I had stun breaks and stability. When I played Shoutbow, I didn't really, or like I had one if I ran Shake It Off. And so anything that could CC me more than once, it was like, oh, well, I'm just like sitting here eating all this now. And so if I would have had something like Berserker with a 10-second cooldown stun break, that would have made it a lot easier. While I would have had.
You know what's sad, Loki, is most Zerkers weren't even running that. They didn't even need it.
Yeah, they have perma stability. You don't need stun breaks.
Yeah, yeah.
When I played Berserker, actually, I played it two different builds. The first, and I played in PvP because that's what I was mostly interested in, with Berserker especially. Some of the other ones I was more interested in PvE, but when I was playing, I did the first build. It was a Marauder build, like a standard damage Berserker build, with hammer and greatsword, I think, and I was running Headbutt, the new stun break, which is really awesome. Like that stun break. Oh. I think that was it. I was running like Berserker Stance and Endure Pain.
Mm-hmm.
And it was okay. I didn't feel... I don't know. It felt kind of normal. I guess it felt kind of like a warrior.
Right.
It didn't feel any different than normal. I mean, I guess the primal bursts are really cool, really awesome, and they're really... they feel really good. Like the hammer one especially. Like, whoa, that one looks so cool. Just meaty. It's like... You know, sound effects.
It's meaty.
It's meaty. That's what I said about the
sausage in my mouth. It's so meaty.
But then I played a...
Is that bechamel sauce?
Are we done yet?
Probably not.
Okay. And so I did something I never thought I would do, and that was play a condition build, which I'm usually against playing because I don't really like condition builds. But I was like, okay, I'll give it a try on Warrior or Berserker, and it was fun. Like, I was surprised. I was like, whoa, this is actually really cool and stuff. I was running Mace, Torch, and Greatsword, and it was a lot of fun. Like, I was just having a blast. I wasn't taking the traits that made you like immune to CC, but I was taking a lot of like burning traits, and it was, I don't know, something about it just felt really cool. Like I felt like a berserker kind of, I guess, if you could call it that, because I'd start my primal like rage or whatever, and then I would like the mace one was really good, and then the greatsword one was awesome comparatively. Like the burning from the greatsword was really nice because it's AoE and it like there's different levels of the radius, I guess. I was running Wild Blow, which is a fun skill to use. Like that skill is so fun. Just like if
that's
someone
the pinball one, right, where you knock somebody back and everybody that they knock back gets knocked back.
You could be so troll. You just hit the dead body and they go flying. It's like it was so fun.
There's a lot of damage too.
It's a lot. Oh yeah, the hitting is hard. And Headbutt is awesome. And then I was just running Endure Pain with the new break stun. And it was really fun. I don't think that Torch has a place outside of a Condi build, unfortunately. Maybe as like a cool like might stacking thing, because it does have the fire field around you.
Right.
Outside of that, I don't see it being anything more than a Condi weapon, which is okay. They kind of warriors.
Did they need a Condi
build.
Offhand? Like was
I don't know if they need the Condi offhand.
Not good enough.
I don't think it is anymore, just because the ticking torment doesn't really cut it anymore, especially with all the Condi cleanse out there. With the torch, the cooldowns are much shorter, and for really, what do you really bring offhand sword for? You bring it for the block.
Right.
You don't bring it for the impale, because you can't. If you're running a damage build, you're not going to get that second attack off on the impale ever, unless you're super lucky at catching it on someone. So that's really.
I can't get my camera to like refocus on me. It's just really being a pain.
You need a new webcam, bud.
This webcam is normally pretty good. It's just not so much right now. So blurry Loki will remain blurry, I guess, for a little bit here. Any other thoughts on Berserker?
To be honest, it didn't need anything else.
It's good. It's good. It's ready to go.
Good. I think
Ship
it's fine. I think it's ready to go.
All right. Good. Revenant.
Yay!
Revenant and Herald.
So, Revenant. I have some cool things to say about
I'll
Revenant.
let Karen go first. I have a lot to say about Revenant.
Yeah, so I think Herald brought something that Revenant really needed, plus all the other tweaks that they did. Herald was really cool. I loved the mechanics of it. So the issue that I still have with it, and it's probably mostly a learn to play kind of issue, but there's not really a good way to manage your energy. Like there's no way to regenerate it except by swapping legends, right? So I think if they added some utilities or something, or weapon skills that would regenerate energy in some way, I think that would be a good thing, but it's probably, I mean, so I could tell when I was doing it well and when I was kind of messing up, because you end up running out of energy and then you can't use anything. Or if you do it correctly, then by the time you need to switch legends, everything's on cooldown anyway. So I mean, so there's kind of hit and miss with that. I guess it just takes more time before you can say for sure one way or the other. Right. But it would be nice if there were other ways to regenerate energy other than just swapping legends.
Can I add something real quick?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Condi Revenant, fucking terrifying.
And so that's something that makes me really want to learn how to play it and be good at it. Because it was, when it worked, it was pretty intense and cool. But when it didn't work, I was terrible.
There's a cat now.
Yeah, so chat was asking for Snowball Cam.
Oh, okay. Hi, chat.
Kitty.
She's so adorable.
I have to agree a lot with what Karen said because it's spot on. Like that's the same thing I felt. The only a lot of people like to compare Revenant to Thief, but the thing that's different about Thief than Revenant is Thief starts with all of his initiative. Revenant doesn't start with all its energy. We start at 50 energy. You know how much things cost? Things are costing 30, 50, 20, 45 energy on our utility bar. And our utility is pretty much all we have. Like our weapon skills, thankfully, they kind of bumped us up a little bit with all the evades on the missed attacks. But there's no really defensive skills on our except the staff, I guess. Staff has better defense now. I love the staff. Staff was my favorite weapon.
Right.
But there's no real defense. We don't have very good defensive skills, and Shield, unfortunately, was kind of disappointing to me. The 4 was great. The 4 was fine. It had a heal on it, protection, great. It's a better version of Guardian 4 Shield. The 5, it didn't work as intended. I think there's a bug on it because when I used it, and I tested this, if a warrior hits you...
One?
No, it's the one that you go into like a crystal shell and you heal up.
Oh, what was the Condi one where like you get one Condi and it drained your full energy bar?
That's that one, the Shield 5. So you go into like a shell, but you have a Defiance bar.
Yeah, you have a break bar.
But
one cripple from a warrior from a greatsword takes that shit off. Like I was like, what?
Wait, like, cripple breaks a break bar?
Cripple breaks the break bar. I found this out. The break bar is an interesting mechanic because it's different for different things. Tempest is different for them. For champions, it's different for them. For the Revenant, for some reason, cripple seems to take the break bar off. I think it also
that's
does.
Huge if that's the case.
I mean, it's hopefully just a bug. But...
I think it's just a bug, but it takes the whole cripple. It takes the whole break bar off. The break bar is supposed to have 4 4 blocks for 4 stuns. I guess 4 stuns.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a low amount anyway for you standing in place and doing nothing. I
mean, you guys have seen the amount of cripple I have.
Yeah, just one cripple takes the entire bar off, and then the after effect of that. It's specific to Revenant. You get 25 stacks of vulnerability and are stunned for 2 seconds. So the only way I can get is swapping legends, and that forces me to swap to a legend I might not want. So I mean, I know they're trying to make some sort of like counterplay here, but they need to fix that so it's usable. Like, need to it is a oh shit button kind of. I mean, Ellie Focus 5 on Earth gets a free invuln for no side effects. You get to move around and attack people in it. Revenant gets a shield, gets a bubble that we sit in that pops with someone sneeze on it. So
they are lacking defensive skills anyway.
Yeah. One thing Revenant doesn't have is very reliant Condi clear. The only thing that really Condi clears is Jalus's heal, and Malik's isn't Condi clear really. You get resistance. That's all you get. You don't even. I think what they need to do with Malix actually is change the elite so that it sends the condies out and gets them off of you, instead of them staying on you.
Well,
because
so I disagree with that actually, because if you're running an actual like Malik's build, like a Condi build, which I was in PvP and still experimenting with, but you do your utility skills do better if you have more than 3 Condis
yeah,
on
that's
you.
true. Yeah, that's true.
So having them copy over every 3 seconds while you still have resistance, so they're not hurting you anyway, I think is a good mechanic.
Yeah,
instead of
all right, I
clearing
agree
them,
with that.
so.
Yeah, you have a good point. I think that, but it needs something else. Like the only like true defensive skill for the Revenant is Shiro's evade skill. That's it. That's the only defensive skill that like is actually used. Like,
Doesn't
it.
offhand sword have something?
Well,
It has
Sword 3 has like that evade thing.
evade, and then offhand sword 4 is a block
The block, yeah, 2-second block.
for 2 seconds. But then you're giving up. Like axe is a superior weapon. Offhand axe is a superior weapon to offhand sword, because then you're losing out on a CC and a teleport that applies chill. And it does, and that attack itself does a lot of damage. That's a significant amount of damage you're losing from picking offhand sword.
Back when they didn't have.
Notice the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say back when they didn't have weapon switch, I was thinking sword axe would be the set. But now that they added weapon switch, do you think sword axe sword?
I would never give up staff.
Yeah. So staff is really good.
Staff is really good.
The
They
three,
they changed the 3.
Mhm.
It blocks. It's actually that same implementation is going to be put onto the new Dragon Hunter F3, so that implementations can put there except in a radius.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Awesome. Oh my
the way that
God.
the Revenant's 3 works is that it blocks everything basically. It's a big block that puts blind on people actually, and it also I think it for every projectile hits it sends out blinds. I guess. Oh no, it's only if they're around you. I'm not really sure I know that just blocks and it blinds people in an area.
So
Whereas
what's
the
so good
Dragon
about
Hunters-
staff? Like,
That and the fact that you get a mist skill. I'm gonna call them mist skills because that's what they do basically. They turn you kind of traverse to the mist or whatever.
right?
And you evade. So you get an evade and a block on staff. Whereas other ones only have one or the other.
Gotcha.
So unless you're going sword, you get the block and the evade on the 3. But again, I'm saying even I'd say shield in particular situations, depending on your build, would be better than offhand sword. I don't like offhand sword at all. It doesn't feel good. I think I haven't played around with it too much just because it isn't fun to play with. As far as axes, axe is super fun. Like just throwing that axe and just showing up. Hi, my name is like.
One thing I did notice with the X4 though is it tended to overshoot, and that was the same last beta weekend and this one.
Well, they fixed a lot on it. Actually, you never used to do the final hit. In the first beta weekend, the final hit never hit anything. Like, it didn't go off even. Sometimes the animation would just end after you teleported, and so that final hit would never happen. They fixed that, so now it's a lot better than it used to be, which is why... And then the Rift, though, is way too good not to bring. Like,
Yeah.
putting that in a team... Like, some people just get caught off guard by that, because sometimes they can't see it, depending on the angle.
That hurts.
Mhm.
And it puts Torment on, too. So...
Yeah.
So I guess the overall impression that I got from Reddit and other places was Herald makes Revenant work.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I love
Herald's
the mechanics of kind of the, you sacrifice your regeneration, your energy regen to be able to stack your stuff, but then once you're done with it, it's all stacked. You can, pop the utilities and then switch to something else.
I do have to say that the facet of strength needs to be changed. Like the active skill, like the activation, like the
So which
21,
one?
the one
Oh.
that it stacks Vuln. Like that's kind of.
Oh, I kind of like that one actually.
It did? I don't know. I
yeah.
wasn't too impressed. I like the other ones. All the other ones were great. Like
I mean,
the
an instant 25 stack of Vuln was a
well,
pretty.
that's if it hits.
Yeah, so
it's
it
also
was
very
kind of hard to land.
very
It was pretty
And
slow.
it's 2 attacks. So one attack is a
Mhm.
double attack. So one attack puts 10. The other attack puts 10. So
Yeah.
if one hits, you do get 10 stacks of Vuln, I guess. But I think if you made it, I think to make it worth it for me, you have to increase the duration of the Vuln because it's really short
Yeah,
for
that's true.
how much you're putting into the skill.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
I do really like how Glint makes you, or Herald makes you, really have to like strategically choose when you're going to activate the facets and stuff. I thought that was a really cool aspect to it.
Yeah.
'Cause you can stack lots of buffs, but then you don't have energy to do anything afterwards.
The traits were actually not too bad either. Like a
Yeah.
lot of the traits were very useful. There were some there that I was like, maybe not. And actually, when I was playing Herald, I don't know if it was just playing Herald, but I found myself using trait line or specialization lines that weren't like particularly in like the same as my legend. So I wasn't using Salvation with Antares. Actually, my build was Invocation, Salvation, Herald, and I was running Glint and Chalice. So
yeah, my build was Corruption, and I think I switched between Invocation and Retribution, and Herald. But I had a blast with that. I liked it a lot.
Devastation is a really good PvE specialization line.
Yeah.
Get that increased attack speed and more Vuln stuff. Like, oh my gosh, you can stack so much Vuln with that sword attack.
Well, and Herald has a thing that pumps out might, right? That does like just area might generation.
Yep. You can, if you use that with the facet of strength and you use your facet of nature, you can stack. I think it went max up to like 13 stacks for me.
I think it was,
around that. Because the facet of nature increases boon duration, incoming boons by 50%.
Right.
So you get more might.
That's in an AoE, right? So at the start of a PvP match, you can give your team, 30 seconds of swiftness and 13 stacks of might for 40 seconds.
Yep.
It's pretty intense. Plus fury. I mean, you can have probably
fury and regeneration, I think.
And protection on the elite. So.
Well, so I know there's a few people hanging out in chat. If you guys have questions or things for us, go ahead and start putting those in now.
Ask questions.
Yeah, there's like a 20-second delay. We were going to talk about raids, but honestly, we're at an hour and 45 minutes right now. So I think maybe that should be...
raids!
I know, I do really want to talk about them, but I'm going to say we probably shouldn't start talking about raids at an hour and 45 minutes. So maybe we'll just plan on another live stream. Who knows? Maybe next week we can get back and do this again. I'd be curious to know whether people like the new kind of format here with the Rabbit. We didn't use the web browser guy much here. I even had my little raids blog up so we could talk about it. But
we should have said something. They wouldn't have spent so long in specializations.
No, it's okay because I think that was all good discussion. So.
I really wanted to talk about raids.
We will. We'll talk about raids. I promise. We'll talk about raids. Just like not right now. I know I have I think you have an early day tomorrow too. I have like a really, really early day tomorrow.
I get up at 6 tomorrow.
Yeah. Same time for me. I have jury duty.
Oh, fun.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. I will judge you. So
6 sounds like a normal day. So
we had a little side chat in chat where. Matthew Spafford, which is funny because it reminds me of Matthew Stafford, the quarterback. I don't know if that's a coincidence or intentional, but it makes me laugh. Was sort of asking about season 1 of The Living World and how it's not available and it's a little confusing. And wouldn't it be cool if they brought it back in the way season 2 did? And I didn't say this in chat, but it sounds like they want to. It's just a matter of having the time to work on it. But I want to toss that out to you guys if you have strong feelings about it, because he said the recap thing they did was confusing, and my response to that was when we played it, the story was confusing. Like it wasn't until the last few episodes of season 1 that it really kind of was like, oh, okay, I guess we know what's happening now, but like we didn't for such a long time. So. What kind of effort do you think it's worth them putting in to try and recycle that content into something replayable, or is it worth it? Or would you rather see them just use those resources on new stuff?
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah, I don't know how worth it I would judge it to be, but I think it would be kind of cool if they re-implemented the Molten Dungeon as like a story instance or something like that. You could run through things like that. So it might have just been, it's been a long time, but it felt to me like season 1 had a lot more of just like open world interactive things going on and less, story instance material.
Yeah.
So it'd be a lot harder to recreate the same feeling in like the chapters that they have now.
Yeah.
I almost feel like they'd have to just create a story that we didn't play that wasn't there.
Yeah.
And then tie
I
in
think
some of the
that
content.
the
they
only
have.
reason they would even do it is to they would probably they'd have to do it now. They have to do it now. And I say that if they're going to re-implement season 1, they'd have to do it now because we're coming near the end of this Heart of Thorns kind of storyline. And then the next living story is going to do something else. So for people coming into Heart of Thorns, new players who are experiencing the story as we are experiencing it now, they have a whole chunk that they have missed. So the only reason they would probably do this is to allow those players to kind of understand. And like the recap kind of goes over that. I actually thought the recap was kind of cool. I thought it was nice to have some sort of like historian. I wish they had more historians for certain things. I wish they had a historian for other parts of the story as well, so that you could experience things that you might have missed or that you've forgotten. I know there's a lot of Sylvari lore that I've forgotten over the years that I refound by spending hours on the wiki, and it'd be nice to have something in game that kind of went over that. But the only reason they would put season 1 in would be for those new players, and they'd have to do it now because, again, after Heart of Thorns, because Heart of Thorns is the end of this storyline. Whether Mordremoth dies or not, it's the end of this storyline. And after that, it's completely new to everyone. So
I think they're going to have to put something in there to introduce new players to the story thus far, without having to play through all of the episodes of season 2 and season 1. So I think anything recapping season 1 will probably have to go into that.
Yeah.
But I think we got our recap, right? Like the thing they put in, I think that's all we're going to get by hot launch.
Now, from a person's perspective, like mine, someone who didn't play Living World Season 1 but really wanted to, and still wants to, it was good. It helped, but I had already looked everything up on the wiki for the story, so I basically understand the story elements. But we still don't get to do the actual events that went along with every single
like all the story
new episode.
Well,
that's part of the experience.
We're missing that.
Most of those weren't great.
Yeah.
Some of them weren't.
Like, there were a couple pieces of content that people remember very fondly. The Molten Dungeon was one, but we get most of that is fractals, right?
Not the parts that I remember.
You don't get you get the one encounter and then the boss fight. That's all.
Yeah.
The Aetherblade Dungeon, we get a little bit more of that. Because we've got Mitrin and the laser room. So
it was good.
I didn't the parts of the Molten Facility dungeon that I missed was the run at the end. That was my favorite part.
Yeah.
And a lot of the dungeon itself was really cool. You don't really experience all of it in just the one boss fight you get from Fractals. Yeah, you get a little bit more Aetherblade dungeon. And the only memorable thing, they hit all the memorable stuff from that dungeon. Really, they hit the Mitrin fight and the electric dude. Those are the two memorable things of that.
I mean, the only other thing that really comes to mind. Okay, so there's maybe two things. You've got the marionette fight, but that was designed for full map, so that would require lot of rejiggering. Like you can't just drop that in. The Assault Knights
you
fight.
kind of already experienced it with Mindwrath a little bit. Not to the same. I don't know. It doesn't feel the same.
It's the same idea, though. Yeah.
Same idea. Although you don't get the bosses. That was the one time when they were trying to fiddle around with champions in a fight like that. That was the cool part of it. That was the most frustrating part too, because no one could read flavor text.
There was the Lion's Arch events, so both the saving Lion's Arch thing, which I don't think I'd want to replay, like maybe from a story perspective, but not the full hour of doing it, as well as the battle on the Breachmaker, which I think would make a good replayable content bit, but again, that was a split the entire map up into 3 fights thing, so like significant rejiggering to do that. So I don't know. Like, I what else would we actually want?
I mean,
Running around farming Aetherblade pirates.
oh my god, running around farming holograms for the dragon for. Oh my gosh, does anyone remember that? Oh my god.
That was terrible.
Oh.
I just remember the maps with the invasions of the. Everybody was like,
Tower of
"Aetherblade spawning
Nightmares."
Here. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What?
I mean, the Tower of Nightmares was pretty cool. Like the
That-
actual
that
inside
was-
part of it.
That was really cool.
But again, these are all like they're massive open world things, and so they
Yeah.
don't really fit in the context of the story journal. And I think that's the main problem that they're going to have is they can't just take that content and find a way to give it to you. They are going to have to redesign it in a way
mean,
that makes
to be
sense
honest,
for instance
let's be-
content.
Let's be honest. What game has 100% gone back and given everything from whatever story arcs they created in a certain particular like expansion of a game?
Well, so most of them are still accessible after that, that season is gone. So in most games, season 1 would be over, but you could still go back to those areas and do those things. But the way they designed season 1, and the same way they've designed season 2, except now you can access the story journal. Is once it's over, and it's gone. It's
I
not
think
like
for,
an enduring.
for people joining
thing.
now, it'll be better for them since they have the story journal now,
Yeah.
so that they can go back to those story bits, which hopefully means they'll have better story bits in the future. So they'll be a little bit more like, because now you can go back and there's more reason, so it gives more people more reason to go back and see them.
Besides really, really frustrating achievements.
Oh my god. So I guess the question is, how relevant are the season 1 story bits? Because I know for people who've only played season 2, they probably feel like they're missing out on things, and I want to hear what you have to say. But from the perspective of somebody who played it, I don't really feel like most of the season, like, it's all about Scarlet, and you probably have heard a little bit about her and like maybe don't get who she is, but I
think
don't
that
know.
Well,
I mean, the
Think
thing
about-
is, you don't even find out, you don't know anything about Scarlet from season 1 anyway, right?
Right.
You learn about her in season 2. So season 1 was all these kind of hints of, well, something big is happening, and there's all these big world events going on, and then she comes back and you fight her. It's like, oh, great, we beat her. And then season 2, you go kind of back in time a little bit and figure out what she was doing and all of that. So, I mean, there isn't much story in season 1, like, period.
Yeah, although I think Scarlet is a much more she wasn't a very strong character in the season 1 by herself. She's the only important character. Now that she actually is a stronger character now that we know everything about her. So
Yeah,
she's more important now than she was when she was released.
the thing about Scarlet is
thought-
that everybody hated her during season
I know.
1.
I didn't hate her only because I compared her to Carmen Sandiego.
And people
was
called her
Carmen
Scarlet Sue. Like, she was almost universally reviled by 90% plus of the player base.
Well, I mean, she had no depth. She had no, obvious motivation. It was just, the Deus Ex Machina villain coming in, and we needed an excuse to do a big map event. That's all it
Although
was. Like.
she was kind of just doing things because she wanted to.
Yeah.
Really. Although for me, I kind of like those characters because it's a little bit different than the very traditional villain that's like, ha ha ha, I want to destroy the world, for some reason.
Yeah, destroying the world seems like a weird motivation.
She just does it because she doesn't care. She's like, I don't care. I'm just gonna do this anyway because it's fun. Oh yay! Of course, then we learned why she was doing it because it was more Dramath all along. So
She wasn't just a crazy Scarlet Quinn. But so I want to hear from Kyle on this because he came in after season 2, bought season 2, and went back and played it.
So, regarding just ignoring most big story points, focusing on the characters and their backstories, let's say I just played season 2. I don't know how these characters know each other. I don't know how Rox met Bram and Timey, and how Casimir and Marjorie are like the best couple in the game.
They are.
Well, and so we
Don't
know
know
that,
that unless-
but I'm not sure you'd be satisfied with those answers. And I think that's the problem, because those of us who played it,
think-
they weren't great story points. Like, they weren't particularly interesting. How did Rox and Bram meet?
They
Like,
met through because Bram was helping refugees. They met through one of the dungeons, I think, because they had to go in. Remember, it's mostly
was that in
facility,
the
I think,
Molten
that they-
Dungeon?
I think that they
Yeah.
finally like started teaming up. That's when they first started teaming up. Was in the Molten Facility dungeon.
You know who the best character was from season 1 while it was happening? Frostbite.
You're right.
Frostbite was like everybody's favorite character during season 1. Frostbite, if you don't know, is Rox's pet. That was the most
Devourer.
interesting character that I
He's
remember.
the most adorable devourer in the game. He never ages.
No, he was a little baby and then he got bigger.
He got a little bit bigger, but They didn't get rid of his cute little eyes. Like, whoa.
But yeah, there was all this weird stuff with like Canuck and the consortium and
Oh hey,
like
hey, Canuck is a badass.
see?
Excuse me, Canuck is a badass.
again, I
all
like
right?
him, but like none of it made any sense.
That's fair, but when you see Canuck and all the stuff with the Dragon's Reach Part 1, where you are talking to that old lady with Casimir and you have to find out what she's up to and she's lying about with the Queen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but like that's
hearing-
new to us
you're
too,
like,
because that
That's
lady
new to us
wasn't
too.
in
Like, there's
season
a lot
1.
of stuff that isn't
Wow.
answered for us that you're in the same.
Yeah, we have no
Countess
idea
Denise,
what's going on with that. That's all new.
My whole thing is Countess Denise is like not who she says she is. She's a complete liar and she's bullshitting everyone. She's doing something behind your back. And
Did you know my
I think she's
2-year-old
Li-
theory
I-
that she's the queen, right?
No, she's Livia. I think she's Livia.
Well, she's
Does anyone
both.
remember Livia? Do you remember?
Have you read the books?
I didn't read. I only read.
Oh, that's one of the things I can do as a giveaway here is I have some signed copies of Sea of Sorrows, the third Guild Wars book that I got signed by Reese
I didn't
Osby.
read Sea of Sorrows. See, I didn't read Sea of Sorrows.
I can't get
kinda-
my gems back.
I kind of want. This. I want that book.
I have
want that book.
5
too.
signed copies of it. Actually, I think I gave 1 or 2 to Kyrian and Solara, but I have like 3 or 4. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Anyway. But yeah, so
yeah.
on season 1, yes, I do think it'd be great if we could go back and replay that, but it would require basically recreating a new season. Like, it's not making the old stuff replayable, it'd be redoing it all. And I think that's, like, I know they want to do it, but I'm very, very concerned that that amount of work just doesn't make sense for them to do for content that was relatively weak from a storytelling perspective and relatively unimportant from a current story perspective.
Well, they still haven't gone back and fixed Zaitan, so
Nope.
I think our chances of that are pretty slim.
All right, let's get to some other questions here. Brinklehoof has a long one, which I haven't read yet, so I'm going to read it just here verbatim. So here's my question. This doesn't really have to do with HOT specifically, but in a way it does. HOT has been an expansion labeled by ArenaNet as one that sets up their features rather than putting in an abundance of content. Do you buy into this, or do you think that's just PR talk because they ran out of time to add content in the expansion? We did a talk about this months ago.
Yeah, we
So
did.
the
Yeah.
name of it is like MEGAtalks about systems versus content in Heart of Thorns. And this is something that people have been catching up on recently, but I was worried about way back when. And I think back then when I was talking about it, it wasn't necessarily a popular opinion. I think I was maybe a little ahead. I was like, I'm worried. Are you guys worried? And everyone was like, no, it's going to be fine. And we had questions like, how many maps do you think we would need? And people were like, oh, like 12 to 15 maps is what we're expecting. And like, it's 4.
12, 15.
And
Oh.
yeah, it's a huge difference. And like, if you look at the number of armor and weapon sets, it's a lot lower than I think any of us would have expected. So
I have a theory on that,
Yeah.
though.
Mhm.
I have a theory on that. Do you want me to say my theory?
Yeah, say your theory.
Oh, well, but okay, I'll put it this way. Like, okay, expansion, they are giving us some things. They're giving us armor sets and legendary armor and weapon sets and more legendary weapons. So
Well,
it's
3
a
legendary weapons.
Well, 3 legendary weapons. Well, it's still, those are going to be released as time goes on. That's the point I'm making. Like, if they gave us everything at the expansion, what can they give us for Living World?
Well, the problem isn't that they're giving us part but not all. It's that the part seems kind of small. And
I don't know.
We don't know whether the numbers that are listed on that blog post, which actually I wonder. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Because they list numbers for things, but we don't really know whether those are at launch or the final number.
I think they usually are really. They usually tell us when things are going to be at lunch or if it's going to be afterwards. Like they specifically said, raids. You're going to get this amount then and this amount then. So I don't think they would completely try to trick us into thinking that we're getting more of something than we would at launch.
I don't find this website the easiest to navigate.
I know, right? Although
it's really cool.
I think it's creative.
Yeah.
I just wish it was a little bit more easy to navigate. Just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit.
One interesting new development, I think, on that topic. So I remember we had a discussion about, do we think that $50 is worth it for the expansion? And I think particularly now that the main game has gone free to play, the expansion itself has to sit on that $50 and be worth it alone, right? And I'm still very concerned that the amount of stuff that they've announced, even though there is more than I expected than the last time we did the stock, I think I said it felt like a $10 piece of DLC instead of an expansion. So I think it feels more than that to me now, but I'm still worried that it's not a $50 expansion's worth of content that they're giving us.
Yeah, well, and I pulled it up here, 2 new armor sets. Well, we know what those are. That's the guild armor.
Yeah.
One of them's the guild armor. Another one, I don't even know what it was. That one.
Weren't there 2? Were the guild armor sets different, or were they the same? Because I thought there might.
So it might be the raid armor set then. Guild armor and raid armor.
So we know what those are. 5 new weapon sets. Well, 2 of those are the guild weapons. Right. So
2 of them are the guild weapons.
Yeah. Remember, each guild hall has its own set of weapons.
Oh right, different guild halls.
Oh yeah.
Skins.
I mean, 5 new weapon sets doesn't say much because the Black Lion weapons they release every month or so as a new weapon set, right? So.
Yep.
I mean, so. Yeah. A couple
new line
of
of legendary weapons, right? We know we're getting 3 and then more later. And then this is the one that really troubles me: 60 unique additional item skins, miniatures, and more. Well, they could release 40 minis, right?
Yeah,
and
Mini Series 3 or Mini Series 4 has 30 minis in it. There you go. There's 30 of your 60.
I wonder what item skins are. I wonder if they're trying to do more unique, like with the bump, the honeycomb one, or the.
So also, I wonder how much of that 60 are going to be things that you buy in the gem store anyway. I mean, it's not going to be stuff that you're just going to get for free from the expansion.
Yeah, so I don't want to be angry about this. I don't want to be upset about this, but I want to be maybe concerned and paying attention to this. Now, Brinkle mentioned something in chat, which is, within the open world of the Heart of Maguma, you'll earn and build 2 new armor sets with unique looks, blah, 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 blah. And he's saying because of that means he doesn't think that includes the guild armor sets.
I have to agree with that because they're not specifically... Because they do mention guild armor later after that or somewhere else. They mentioned it somewhere else in the guild one or the other ones.
Let's see if we can find it.
Okay, so 2 new armor sets. Well, when they released Silver Waste, there's 2 new armor sets that came with that, right? So
yeah, but these ones you're building. Maybe you have to craft them.
Maybe, but I mean, still, so one patch had 2 armor sets anyway, but they're calling that the feature list for the expansion. Seems a little worrying to me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question is, if it's 2 armor sets and we're not happy with that, but it's 2 armor sets plus 1 or 2 for the guilds, now we are happy? Like, is 3 or 4 the number that we go, oh yeah, no, that's great.
And there's legendary armor too, and everyone's going to be going for legendary armor. That's all people are probably not even going to think about the other skins, but people are just going to be like, oh, legendary armor, let's go get it.
Yeah.
Let's see what it says about the guild here.
That's another thing I'm worried about. I don't know if anyone even thought about that. Like, now that legendary armor is coming to the game, what down? Like, I mean, now we get armor that changes stats. Now we have weapons that change stats. We can. I mean, why make ascended armor anymore? I mean, I guess for a cheaper version of whatever stats you're trying to get, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, so they've said that they only want lateral progression, right? So you can't ever go up from legendary armor. So how else do you go sideways?
Yeah.
And I think the only way I can think of is new skins.
New armor skins or something like that. I guess like a kind of sets of different. Now I wonder how different the legendary armor is going to be. That's the question. I don't. They haven't really. That's another thing they haven't even gone over is legendary armor. Like how different is it going to be? They mentioned some sort of difference between. I think was it classes? I don't know. Some unique thing about the armor between some sort of set of categories.
Yeah. So here's my concern. 2 new armor sets is the Guildhall armor and the legendary armor. That is my current concern about what that is. 5 new weapon sets. 1 and 2 are your Guildhall weapon sets. And then there's 1 like cultural weapon set for each of the races. And that's basically, so like you get the, you know, kind of our new Hylic weapon set and exalted weapon set, and then 1 for the chalk or whatever, the one we haven't really heard about yet. And then those are our weapons. So I'm a little concerned, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, the skins to me don't necessarily make the game, right? If the new World versus World Borderlands and changes are super fun and Stronghold's amazing and the new Elite specs are great and Masteries give you something to do past 80, but there's just not a lot of new skins, then you know what? That expansion's probably worth it. The question is whether they're going to hit on every single one of those points while also not giving you cool shinies to go after. And for a game that has based its end game so far on cosmetics, it doesn't feel like there's enough cosmetics. And hey, maybe they're trying to create a new end game with masteries and raids and all that, but those are going to need to succeed because right now the cosmetics don't look like they're going to work. For most of us, like I don't think 2 armor sets and 5 weapon sets is going to be enough for most people who have been playing this game for 10 months at the time of launch without any new content.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, like, I spend hours sitting around the wardrobe just trying to like make my characters look the way I want to. So, and I'm looking forward to new armors and new weapons. Especially legendary armor. I don't know how.
Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to put together the numbers and say, okay, this is how many armor and weapon sets there were at launch, and then this is how many we got up to the end of season 1, and this is how many we got up to the end of season 2.
Oh, I can pimp a really cool website then. GW2wardrobe.com, I think. I can't spell it all right now. Wardrobe. GW2wardrobe.com uses the API to show you the percentage of skins you have, and there's a leaderboard and everything too. And so you can view it by different sets and see who has the most skins and all that.
So I guess you could probably get all that information from the API, but it'd be interesting because I just, gut reaction is the amount of armor they're releasing in this $50 expansion, if you're looking at no other criteria, is a tiny, tiny fraction of what was released in the $60 base game.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure these are 10 wide. So, like, this is our current set of, like, chest armor, right?
Uh-huh.
For light, at least.
For light, right. But so there's, if you consider a set light, medium, and heavy, there's 61 sets of armor here.
Mm-hmm. And they're releasing 2 more with a $50 expansion.
Yep.
Again, reason to be worried, in my opinion.
I mean, the other thing is, look at what they've released, like, so far with skins overall. So far, it's only been outfits. I wouldn't be upset if instead of outfits, they just outright sold skins on the gem store, which is what I wish they did instead of outfits, because outfits are kind of like, they're cool, but I can't customize them.
Yeah.
Like I used to. I used to be able to. Just give me skins so that I mean, I'm fine like spending, like if I have to spend a little bit of real money once, or I just spend a lot of gold a bunch of times, I'm fine with that to get new skins. I don't really want more outfits. I'm kind of tired of the outfits. Yeah, some of them are cool, like the wedding outfit was kind of cool because it's specific to race. Like if they did something unique like that once in a while, I think that'd be fine. But more skins in the gem store overall, like more sets of skin, like set weapon, armor sets, because the most successful like gem store purchases have been like armor sets. Like seriously, how many people have bought like the Magitech set? That was one of the more popular ones, and then there was
Flaming boobs.
the flaming boobs, and then what else? The Zodiac one. After a while, the Zodiac ones became popular because people
Yeah, I bought the
suddenly
Zodiac
realized-
ones.
I have Zodiac
Mhm.
ones. I love
Me
them.
too.
So I'd be okay if they released this amount, but then after that, like, yeah, once in a while, Living World, give us the armor set, but give us more armor sets in the gem store. Like,
See, I
I'm
think
tired of outfits. I'm tired of outfits.
Yeah, yeah, and I totally agree that I would love separate skins instead of outfits, and continuing to release them through the gem store. I'm perfectly fine with that. But I think you have to take that completely separately from content that's included in the expansion,
Oh, yeah.
because that's all stuff you have to buy on top of the expansion itself.
Yep.
Although I'm
All right.
always looking for
One more question, then we're gonna roll here. Last question. What do you guys think is gonna happen to? I'm gonna recenter Kitty Cam here. What do you guys think is gonna happen to Dry Top and Silver Waste once the expansion comes out?
It's gonna die.
They're gonna die out, probably.
I think they're gonna die. They might come back if there's not any good farms in Hot.
Yeah.
I think people are gonna go to whatever is the
Yeah.
best farm, right? Like from what I can see, Dry Top's already pretty dead.
Oh yeah, Dry Top just doesn't.
And
like,
it's
I don't
because
know.
Silver Waste is a better farm. Whatever the best farm is,
Although Dry
that's gonna
Top
be
is
busy.
a little bit more interesting because the events are a bit more interesting, in my opinion. Like,
I mean, it has nothing to do with how interesting it is, right? I mean, before anything
for
else.
me,
or farm, so-
I prefer more of the events in Dry Top than I do in the Silver Wastes, because all the events are unique in there. Whereas in Silver Waste, all the events are kind of the same. Yeah, the Vine Wrath is cool. I like that. But everything else before that's kind of the same thing. Defend the keep, this or that.
I think there's two possibilities, right? One is people are going to find the best farm and go to that. The other is, based on the map reward system, people are going to find the most valuable mats, and they're going to go to that map. So if there's charged cores and lodestones in Timberline Falls, people are going to go to Timberline Falls and try
Well,
and go
it
there.
changes all the time, doesn't it?
Right, so it's going to be a daily thing.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think that's. To be honest, I think that's fine. Actually, that way, older maps get more use. More people go to older maps, and people might say, "Oh, I've never seen this thing." I'm always thinking about the side of I'm always wishful that people are more explorative, like I am in the game. Like I'm over there, looking over, oh, look at the shiny, stuff like
So
that.
I love the exploration aspect. What I'm worried about is a new player in, say, Lornar's Pass or something, trying to run cool events, but the Karma train is steamrolling through and killing everything in their path. And suddenly they can't even participate in these events because they're not a loot stick guardian, right? So
It's the Guardian.
Do you think they're going to go
Hey,
back
hey.
and change Silver Waste or Dry Top with the launch in some way?
I don't know. They didn't put the reward system in those maps.
Well, they didn't change Dry Top when they released Silver Waste, so now basically you're just in a dead Dry Top and you can't progress anything in it. So I doubt they will.
No new events, no changing landscape. I don't think they will. I think it's going to stay the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
There might be a new area where you go between Silver Waste and to Brink, probably. But the staging area that we had in the beta event, probably is gonna be there.
We're going to turn off Kitten Cam for now.
Oh, we have Loki Cam now.
Loki Cam? Loki Babs
Loki
Cam?
Loki Babs
This is
Cam.
not the best picture of us.
It's scary. I'm gonna say it's kind of scary.
But
Yeah, a little bit.
this is the
Just a
alternative.
little.
So
kind of prefer that.
with
Defer.
the Iron Marches, before the Mortem stuff, it was like just regular char stuff, right?
They
And
added
when
a couple
Mortem happened,
events.
they added.
They added. They were.
Most of it was for Maudry.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to make major changes to those zones because there's so many events that intersect with each other. It's really easy for them to break events by adding new ones. So I think that's going to kind of remain the way that it is.
Unless they did something totally radical and went with, Blizzard's Cataclysm kind of thing. Change everything.
Then things got broken.
Yeah.
Things broke.
Yeah.
Don't break things.
All right, guys. I think I'm going to call it there. That was a 2-hour and 19-minute stream. I feel like we did good. Even though we didn't get to raids. I'm going to have to edit the thumbnail and everything else. Maybe I'll just leave it. I'll just put a note in at the beginning. We'll come back. We'll talk about raids some other time. This was a lot of fun. If you were in chat, thanks for hanging out with us. Feel free to leave feedback either here or in the comments down below. We're kind of newer to this, and if this is the sort of thing you like, awesome. If it's the sort of thing you dislike, that's good too. Just let us know why it is, and we'll keep on working on this. So thanks again, everybody, and a special thanks to Karam, Raz, Vol, and Kyle for hanging out and talking with me for so long. I am gonna go run and use the bathroom here because wow.
I have to pee too.
Yeah, that was a long time.
I drank some iced tea. I should have drinking iced tea while I was doing this.
Thanks, everybody. Bye. There's my hand. Bye.
Bye, people.